Welcome back, and thanks for sticking around. We've switched spots, but we have another great set for you. Dolson alongside Pretty Hair for your second desk of the day. And Nick, I know that you were very excited looking forward to this matchup,
Definitely.
and I think it should be a really good one.
This is one that just feels like it could end up being very, very close. Not necessarily right now in the standings, but a lot of that I feel is because SSG haven't played all their games. For those of you that aren't aware, this is a team that had some visa issues at the start of the season, so they're kind of hopping in late. Week 4 was the first week. After this week, though, they'll be close to caught up. Most of the teams playing around 7 or 8 games at this point. SSG will be at 6.
Right.
So they're making their rounds. So the cool thing about last week was that was the first time we've gotten to see everybody play everyone and feel like we finally have our thoughts together, but SSG are still evolving in that, right? So they haven't necessarily played everyone yet, and this is one that I think is going to be a very tightly contested set.
I think so. I mean, if you're looking at paper in this case, I guess it's hard to kind of know which way it's going to go, and I think even we in our predictions were kind of one way or the other. I mean, I think this one's just so hard to kind of
our only
give
split.
outright.
Only non-unanimous decision in the predictions
for
this week.
Do you, in your gut, feel strong one way or another just right off the bat?
I'm feeling strong for SSG for the sole reason, well, there's two things, and this could go for either team, but the fact of the matter was that SSG kind of got their butts kicked last week by NIP, and that's what makes that rematch tomorrow so exciting, is that they weren't prepared for Amani necessarily. They weren't super worried about it, so they've been really sort of grinding that character out and preparing for today. But on the flip side, Virtus.Pro also vocally, specifically Fasheko vocally, displeased with his performance last week. So they're sort of grinding with a chip on their shoulder as well. Both these teams, I think, having something to prove this week.
I think that's a really fair way of looking at it.
This is make or break for VP, man. They're 3-3.
Right, they fell you fell to Kanga last week. Obviously, Kanga playing a little bit rejuvenated in their games.
And beat Na'Vi, this league is so wild.
It is wild. You really look at the standings, and it's like you have the 8-0 NIP up top, and then everyone else is within
3-1, 4-3, 3-3, 3-3, 2-4, and then it starts to fall off 2-5, 1-6. But one,
all
two,
within
three,
1 or 2 wins of another.
2, 3, 4 teams within a couple of wins of each other. It's so contested. You really don't know, and that's just not something we're used to. We're used to knowing our top 1 or 2 teams, early going on. By weeks 3 or 4, we're like, okay, I think this is the way this is going to go. But the PPL has been so much fun to watch, so competitive throughout it all.
And we just saw some of Dosup's replays. How did you feel about him on Atlas last week? Anything stand out to you on that side?
I thought he was really good. This is a very, very long-standing player. And while not always playing frontline, he's played frontline for a pretty decent length of time. Switched to the frontline role pretty much full-time last split with G2 before that team sort of broke up and everybody kind of went their separate ways. And I really liked the way that G2 had some of the most aggressive frontline play that we have ever seen prior to the LAN League stage of PPL. And that's something that I think naturally fits his style and fits this meta very well.
Well, let's look at our boy Fishy next as our next topic of conversation on this matter. You mentioned it. He wasn't thrilled with the way he performed last week. Do you think that's enough to maybe fuel him into a great performance here today?
Definitely. It's going to feel like a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, and I don't think he'll have to fight quite as hard for his blasters as he did last week. Evil Eye and Fasheko are going to go very, very hard against each other. What I want to see, though, is the Eevee matchup. I think both FRC God and Fasheko have very highly been loving Eevee, even more so than the Bomb King. Bomb King, I would say, last season, for a lot of reasons, was sort of #1 in the hearts of Fasheko and Freeze God. But now it feels like the Eevee show and the King getting kind of fallen off a little bit. I don't think we saw him at all last set. So still being played when the players that play Bomb King are around, but not necessarily every single game on every single map anymore.
Is that your matchup to watch today? You got Fasheko on one side, FRZ on the other?
Unfortunately, we can't watch the mirror match, Eevee matchup. The 1v1 showdown on Frog Isle. That would be a lot of fun to watch. But Eevee is definitely, I think, going to be a pretty highly contested pick in this set. But you also have, because I talked a lot about Bomb King too, these are great Bomb King players. So you might see one team almost do this and be like, we're okay with you having it. We actually don't care. And then you can get it, but we're just going to take Bomb King 10th or whatever it is and still be completely fine with that pick. You saw him playing a little bit of Bomb King on Ice Mines and stuff like that. So it's all about the strategy, man. With so many viable picks, it's so much fun to watch these guys go through a draft and see why they're picking when they're picking.
Well, it's going to be fun to kind of look into and see where these teams stand. But one guy who is going to have a good grasp on that is Spuds, the head coach of Virtus.Pro. We have an interview with him standing by.
Hey, everybody in the Virtus.Pro booth getting ready for the game. Obviously, we got their coach with us today. Looking dapper as always, my friend. Before we get into any game mechanics, how do you always look so fresh?
Honestly, the jersey was kind of a bit tight, and I mean, I brought a couple suits, so I thought it would be a little bit better of adjustment than, you know, the half cut, you know.
You get a lot of comments, positive comments on the Mixer chat, so just wanted to shout you out in the dress. I thought it needed to be publicly addressed. Well, the pun there was not intended. But let's talk a little bit about the matchup. Obviously facing off against SSG, two teams that have so much potential, some former teammates on either side. What was your preparation like going up for today?
We haven't played them yet this year, so of course we scrimmed a bit against them. So like it's hard when you haven't played a team. You haven't really seen a lot of them since they took like a month off, right? But they're a great team, so we're just gonna come in, try to be prepared, and do our thing.
Is there anything that you've been highlighting specifically, either matchups specifically for some of your players, or is there anybody you've been trying to isolate as far as their champion pool?
Yeah, it's the two Latin guys over there. We're gonna let the Latin lovers carry us this game and show their old former teammate who's the better players.
All right, well, exciting words of encouragement and a little bit of a jest between these two teams. Let's send it back to the desk before we grab a word from SSG.
It's going to be fun to see how some of that adjustment plays out. One thing that kind of made me laugh was, you know, you have Ezekiel Elliott in the NFL who always wears like the midriff jerseys. Imagine if, you know, some players were just yeah, right. I mean, technically you could just cut it off at the midsection.
Yeah,
and it's breathable.
I think
you know?
maybe Thiel could have done that, but I don't know anybody else that necessarily has the midriff for stream, so to speak.
Well, comparing it to an NFL running back is a bit unfair.
Yeah, Zeke's
in that
a monster, so maybe that's not quite so fair. But it is fun, the comparison that they make there. Sadak, Puleule, Hekate, old teammates, part of that Nocturnes Gaming Burrito squad, that kind of stuff. So that always makes a little bit of element, I think, of fun. Like I said, SSG still sort of making their rounds because they came to the league late as a result of some visa issues. So now that they are here, we still get to see those first-time matchups, and this is going to be one of them.
I think that's a really fair point. I mean, you look at NIP; they've now played everyone, and then Pittsburgh twice now.
Yeah, they're starting to make their double.
And for everyone, I mean, this is going to be a telling couple of weeks. This week, extending into next week, seeing really where these teams stack up against one another. I mean, it comes down to one or two wins here and there, as we see in the standings as of right now. Let's look at SSG, and one of the guys we talked about with Fasheko, kind of comparing the two. FRZ God, what does he mean to this team?
He's their Eevee. He's their blaster. He's a lot of things for the squad. He's a really, really hype guy to watch. Very, very humble as well, too. Evan talked about guys that don't talk a lot and make big plays. I think this might be the poster child for that. He's a really good guy. A lot of fun to be around, especially at LAN. These SSG guys overall, they know how to have a good time, but they also know how to buckle down, get serious. And it's not really something. Is that a little Dolson cast in the background?
I hear it in the background.
Shout out.
Wow, I sound great.
Great stuff there.
That's honestly the highlight of that highlight.
Forget Freeze God. Let's talk about Dolson's cast for a second. Phenomenal stuff.
I think that's fair. That's fair.
But playing a little bit of the Leon, it's not unseen before for Fasheko to play that, but that's probably an area that could be talked about, that FRZ God maybe hangs over Fasheko's head a little bit, being able to play like a hit scan character if necessary. I think both those guys would feel comfortable on Shaolin. Like I said, I have seen it before, Fasheko playing Leon. I don't think Leon is an overly difficult character. I think she's fairly straightforward. You hit the stuff or you don't. I don't think there's a ton of decision-making going on there. So that's why I think he could play it. Those are usually never in the same sort of champion pool. Not a lot of overlap between those hit scan and blaster players. But this is a very different meta. This is a meta of versatility, of so much variety, where anything could be asked of you. So the more you can play, the better.
I'm actually really interested to see. I don't know if this is something that they'll bring up. We'll head down to an interview with Kresnik and hear their thoughts in just a second. But we talked about maybe picking up the Imani or not picking up the Imani this week. That's going to be exciting to look
Yeah.
for. But as I said, we have Kresnik standing by with an interview.
All right, well, we're here in the SSG booth. A lot of laughs before this. Actually, a little funny story, and we have to comment on this. Kresnik took his coaching to another level. He actually made all of these guys G Fuel, and I believe it was Apple G Fuel as well.
My thumb is actually stained green from pouring it all into the water bottles. I hope it works out. It is green apple though.
Okay.
One of the best flavors.
Okay.
That and watermelon.
And Sadak was saying that it made them feel sexy and awake. So I don't know what that's going to look like as far as this matchup, but we've been speculating.
If we could afford this first map, I don't know. That's going to be really weird.
Well, it should at least make for an interesting dynamic. Obviously, you've got former teammates going on, the Latin lovers over there. Spuds was making fun about that, and Pulule and Hecate were grinning. How do you guys feel about this matchup in particular? First time you've been able to go up against Virtus.Pro.
I'm actually really excited to play against them. They're a team that, I mean, they have a storied history. All their players have been playing for a long time in their respective regions, and being able to finally meet up with them, see exactly what they've brought, what they bring against us, I think is going to be really interesting.
We've seen so many like North American matchups, so many Europe matchups, but really when you look at South America, this is the premier matchup that's finally able to happen. Anything you can expect from maybe a pick and ban priority or what flavor this will add?
I would say these are players that know each other a lot. That gave me a lot of insight, and I think that should show through in our draft.
Awesome. Well, excited to see it. Good luck to everybody on SSG. We'll get it back to the desk to get this game started.
Talking about a bit of the maybe Latin spice, a little Latin flair that's going to be going into their draft. It was a very subtle way of kind of saying, well, they're the ones who are really going to be adding a little something extra to it. But just prior to that interview, I had kind of mentioned whether or not they'll pick up the Imani this week, because we obviously heard how annoying they thought it was last time they played, and I know that they were a little adverse to maybe picking it up.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a change that would have been made?
Most likely, yes. I think part of it is, and it's an interesting dynamic. We got to talk a lot with Kresnik this week, and the map bans are Warder's Gate, Shadow Desert, Ice Mines, A Peak, and Jag Falls to kick things off. Just to talk a little bit about almost the scrim environment, how that shaped that mentality. You know, they were talking about who they were scrimming at that time was playing it, but they were sort of dealing with it okay. And they were like, well, okay, we're not super worried about this. We're not going to focus on this too heavily. And then they had to go up against NIP and Tenor Zamani, and like a character who is that new can vary, very, greatly from player to player. So it's funny how that type of stuff can affect, who you're playing at what time, what they're playing. Your scrim partners definitely matter, and the way that the speed at which this meta is shifting, it's definitely been cool to watch and see. And I got to talk a little bit about with that with Bonker, like how soon do you stop scrimming a team that you have to play that week? Is it 2 weeks before? Is it that week? What type of stuff? And obviously every team's a little bit different, but he likes to cut it off the week of is when we're going to start to develop our pocket strategies, things like that. Bans are complete. Atlas Makoa, Khan, and Genos. Now, these two Latin American tanks, Pulaule and Sadak, they like a lot of the same things. They used to play on the same team. They know each other's styles. They know what they like to do, the rotations they like to make, the calls they'll come out for. So, as much as we talked about the EV going highly, I think the aggressive tanks in the Ash are going to be just as prioritized, if not more.
So much.
One thing I kind of want to key on from the last set, Torvald makes his way through. Two of the teams really in this league that really sort of catered to Pip, or Pip caters to them, were the teams that we saw in our last set. Knights, Pan has played Pip a couple times, and of course Bittner, we see him play Pip a good bit. Do you think either of these two teams, or really any other teams in the PPL, maybe feel open to the Pip? Have we really seen it on anyone else?
I think Fasheko and Freeze God can do it. I think Pip is a character that you need to play a lot to really get a feel from. Whereas, how I said, Leon is very straightforward. I think there's a lot about Pip that is not straightforward. How you move and rotate through the map, and the decisions you make of when to dive and when to play safe, and how much healing am I going to get from this potion, and we can see some of that green apple G Fuel. I'm going to be honest, that looks like that Shrek just pissed in the bottle.
Yeah, that, more power to you. More power to you.
That is frightening.
It's like
is that a double dose? Is that too much?
It's like what blinded Daredevil in the movie. It's like the acid green. I mean, listen, again, more power.
Are we getting slimed on Nickelodeon? Oh my, that is electric.
I mean, game one, this is where we'll see if the They've all got it. I mean,
We just see his veins turn to green.
although I will say,
you wouldn't like Ares.
if I imagine like a high energy like go get 'em color,
Stay close.
neon green, you know, that's right up there. So
pounding it. Whereas Fasheko,
this is a calculated decision.
Fasheko's taking a different strategy into this one, man. He's totally kicked back, not too worried about it. He's got that Torvald Amani, and he's cool to cruise, brother. What else can I say?
He's got no more horse in this race. He's got his. He's got his in this one, so he's not too worried about what is going to happen for the rest of it. Hecate, obviously, you know, we didn't talk about him so much in the pregame, but another guy who's kind of a cornerstone of this lineup, and honestly a cornerstone of Paladins in general. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table today. I mean, it's got to be tough for Virtus.Pro. This is a big. You said it pretty well. This is a bounce back game, honestly, for both teams.
Yeah, 3-3.
This is, and again, I'll harp on what I already said, but these 1-2 win weeks is really going to determine where all these teams end up getting seeded, since everyone really is so close. So we'll get to test a little bit of the might of both of these teams here today. Saris making her way through as well. They have to tip their hand, and it's going to be an Eevee.
Okay, so this looks like Hecate will be playing the Amani. This has been good for him. You know, Cassie and Leon, both great characters for him. Not really looked at here. Both starting to fall out of favor, and a lot of those guys, it's not fair to say hit scan primaries anymore because Cassie's not. But Amani has been an easy transition for a lot of the guys that have been playing Cassie.
Sorry, the down there on Eevee. That's an interesting pick, though. On the opposite side, we have Ash.
Is there a bug on our screen?
There was. I didn't want to overtly say it, but since you brought it up, I will harp on it now. That's why I was trying to point to Eevee. There was a massive spider that just crawled across, and I thought
that was like an animated card for Saris that was like a VFX floating around, but no, that was just a big-ass bug on our screen.
So if we're not here when we come
let's
back
get
from
this one in the
number
game
one,
so Dave and I don't get
let's
consumed.
we got to burn down the studio.
Yeah, we got to shut it down, boys. Skill shot, it was a good run, but we got spiders.
That was scary. SSG, VP, both lineups locked in. Quick thoughts, one or the other.
VP, they're great.
VP is great. You hear it. It's crawling towards us.
No, I'm not scared of spiders.
I am terrified of spiders. I am terrified of spiders. We're going to send it down to the casters so we can run away.
Well, hopefully you don't run too far, because we do need you
I hear the
after
footsteps.
this set. And you know I will not be covering for any spider shifts at all. That is strictly in my contract. And if it's not, I'll write it in by hand. I don't care if it's legal or not.
You know, the fine print, that's actually what it said.
Yeah,
and all
that's
of our
my
contracts,
fine print.
at the very bottom, it just said, by the way,
Oh, yeah.
Evan will not deal with any spiders. That is up to you three. Figure it out. Luckily, I'm in here, so it's up to them.
Evan will not deal with any of the three major S's,
But if,
snakes, sharks, or spiders. That is up for anybody else.
Okay, I'm going to throw it out there. Spiders, admittedly, you know, we're in the South. That's not too surprising to maybe see one or two come into the building. If we have snakes or sharks as a problem,
You're out too?
We have way
Oh,
more
we're both
of an
gone.
issue in the building than I think anything else that any of these teams could have, right?
Nothing stops the PPL, even an Anaconda break-in.
Oh, no, I'm gone.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
the PPL
gone
can
too.
keep going, but
PPL might go. I
it'll
won't be
sound a
here.
lot like this.
It'll sound a lot. You'll just enjoy some gameplay. Put on some music in the background. Imagine, you know, you're casting yourself, because we will not be. Imagine an Anaconda in this little studio we're in. No, hell no,
No.
impossible.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I will. Well, these cords are pretty
And
long.
no,
I
I'm
would
not
cast
sad
from the
about
hallway instead.
Early damage
can make
here
it out there.
starting off, though, and already Sadat goes down. That is huge. Fishy starting off the right way with that Torvald bubble, just making it out. A little bit of wormhole as well to get that healing back and get in a good offensive position. Uh-oh.
Oof, and this is one of the things I was actually very curious about, because Hecate, I mean, known for hit scan, right, was kind of bringing the Cassie into his wheelhouse. I was curious how they were going to be able to pick up this Amani, how it was going to look on him. As of right now, looking pretty okay, but I need to see if it can pass into one of, you know, his top 5, his greats that they've been able to have. But it got its job done, which was I found enough kills along with him and Fasheko to just make so much room that we just win the point.
Now, I keep forgetting what I actually put in the Esports Weekly show. But I'm trying
You
I think I
voted for
put
VP.
VP this game. And you know what? Starting off pretty nicely, there were a couple things VP really hurt on last week. And although SSG, I think this is going to be a great matchup, VP did not have an Amani in their back pocket, and they were admitting that. And now it's showing that at least they have prepared it, and they have a pretty good confidence in being able to put Hecate in some very advanced positions. Obviously, because of the Saris and the Torvald bubble, you have a little bit more wiggle room to get out of tough spots. But man, oh man, a very dangerous champion. Already 800 damage and cleaning it up with another Frostbolt. This is working really nicely for VP.
Well, it feels kind of like, and this is something, you know, we have talked about, I want to say, over the last couple of weeks looking at it, but specifically with Atlas and Amani coming in, there were questions on how do you adapt, how do you bring those champions into your team and your draft style, and what do you give up if you don't bring them in, right? If Atlas is such a huge priority and you don't want to play the Atlas, you don't think either he's worth it or you think it's better if no one has him, then what are you giving up for? Are you giving up the Makoa, the Torvald, maybe one of the other bands? And as you see here, they gave up the Torvald, and admittedly, in my mind, you make that decision with we have a counter for it. Makoa, big game Cassie is where I go almost first. It's not going to always work, but at least it kills him.
The Dragon
seems to hurt.
Yeah, and it seems like everything is hurting more and more and more. The more Torvald and Amani get paired up 2-0 in under 3 minutes. Virtus.Pro off to the races here. You got to wonder, it feels like Virtus.Pro definitely got at least the higher end of the draft here. Yes, maybe losing out the Ceres battle versus the Moldamba, some support maybe shifting the way of SSG, but I mean, when you look at SSG's lineup and you say they got Torvald, they got Amani, what did you get? You got Ash, Barrick, Bomb King, great picks, but not the type of elevated picks we've seen Torvald and Amani be. And Tyra surrounded out. It feels like maybe something missing from this draft, at least for now. VP keeping SSG on their heels.
And when we jump back in, I'd love to be able to look at it, because one of the things that has been the topic of conversation is Imani and her loadout.
Yeah.
And what teams are running, what players are going to run to maybe make this more stylized for themselves. Because a couple of players are going for speed, they're going for health. You can see the Elemental Grace run at 2, so 200 HP shield. And surprisingly enough, not running max health. Ancient Duty only at 4. Everything kind of at 4 here for Hecate. So he's kind of trying to tread that line of the best of both worlds.
And a lot of those cards that used to be for a healing while you're using your glide shifted a little bit more towards the shield, because it gives you that just kind of like that escapability, that kind of almost, oh man, I thought you were dead, now you've got 250 HP. Sometimes that's enough wiggle room, especially in a Torvald comp, to add that shield on top of an actual field study shield, and it doesn't matter if Sadok's just going to shoulder bash you to death. 2 quick kills from him, cuts me off while I'm talking, and now SSG with FRZ got able to capitalize here, but Fishy makes a big play.
Being able to kind of flank around like that, get rid of probably the biggest threat on the side of SSG besides Sadok at the moment, which was the Bomb King. But they have to get in there. I mean, fast gap, the double comeback mechanic, as Kresnik puts it, is definitely working out for them here, and they lose dose-ups immediately.
But someone has to touch, and I'm not sure if they can. Fishy goes down. This looks like SSG have cleaned it up, and they're going to give this point to them. The King, Freeze got back in action, off the saddle, on to the battlefield, just poppy bombing his way towards Hecate, and he looks very vulnerable right now. Needs a shield. Oh, he's going to get healed up by Vex and start to defend.
This is one of those moments where, very akin to what I was saying at the end of the last set, you have players on SSG, a few of them, who can make clutch plays when needed, right?
Yeah.
That was going to be Sadok coming into that, being able to find the pressure, the kills that they needed to push out Virtus.Pro, use the double comeback mechanic to control the mid-fight, right? And keep things rolling for them. But right now, it comes down to the question we were kind of posing every time that comes up with, like, maybe a Genosol, a 3-time in space getting a kill.
Yeah.
How many times can you repeat that performance? How many times can you guarantee a double kill right there, right? Because as of now, I mean, you see the pressure literally flipping on its head right back in favor of Virtus.Pro. I've never seen dose-ups. He just walled himself off from the people behind him, but to go towards SSG's base.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can see that there's just a lot of strength here in both of these lineups, and Virtus.Pro have had their foot on the gas for most of this matchup. But SSG having some glimpses, and these glimpses hopefully turning into some sparks leading into those fires. And if you have an uncontrollable fire, we'll just ask anyone who's trying to go against Amani's Dragon without having enough bulldozer. That is not a fight that gets in their favor, that's for sure. We should take a look at the items as well, see how people have started to prepare for that Dragon against Virtus.Pro. Still 5 ults on the table. And we will take a look at those items in a second when they are brought up on the screen. But Gore, I mean, the big question is how fast do you invest into it? So far, it seems like not one member of SSG are worried about the Dragon. Interesting.
Well,
at least for now.
Could play a big difference. I mean, admittedly, last week they had some really rough early games against the Renegades because they refused or weren't quite able to pull out the Atlas and the Amani at the level they wanted to. And based on conversations I've heard, SSG have been practicing with that as much as they can. I think every team has at this point, right?
Right.
So not prioritizing it and then following up with letting Amani go through, not really worried about a bulldozer. Either they are really, really planning on Bomb King to burst that dragon down, or maybe they're going to lose because of it.
Yeah, I mean, Virtus.Pro, no matter what, Gore, they feel prepared. This overtime is going to start, and this is a dangerous way. I think he got close. Oh, no. What a wall. Dosips. Man, shutting it down. That's like a block for sure, and he literally blocks the movement. Here's a little bit of Sadak doing his thing last round, and he chases Akate out. He got the shoulder bash off of this one, waits very nicely for that cooldown to come up. It's almost perfect synergy because he has the bubble for the first 3 seconds while he's waiting for a shoulder bash, and then he gets that kill.
I don't think you could ask for like better timing. And that kind of scenario where it's just like, cool, cooldown's done, charge time, and all of that time that bubble just goes from kind of helpful to gone.
Yeah.
And not even the standard. Someone popped it, someone shot it. It was it just ran out of time.
Just ran out of
That was
time.
the full duration of it. But now they're coming through. Still no bulldozer. A little bit more resilience here, so a little more worried about the CC that's going to be coming through from VP.
Yeah.
Instead of this dragon. So let's see what
Oh,
Kate
boy.
can do.
And I like this, personally. Good convergence. The shield, oh my god, great throw by Vex because the shield was there, so he made a little bit of an adjustment, and he does actually end up saving Puleoli's life, at least for the moment. Akate finds Freeze God, and he is in that dragon form. He actually is going to cancel out, go into the Frostfire Glide, gets healed up as well. Looking like I'm watching Silver Surfer here take on some villains in the MCU. Nice dome shield by 54%. Saving that for Spacestation Gaming and holding on to their aggressive lead at the start.
But the double comeback mechanic is working wonders here for Spacestation Gaming. 85% as they're able to control at least a little bit. Metal going to put his name on the kill feed. They're getting rid of Fisheko, but the healing from Saris is coming through, and it's doing just enough until this very moment. Dosips goes down, but Daddy Torvald's come through and moved in.
And Vex is having a hard time, as well as Dosips, of timing out this heal to get a full heal when they get low. The reset isn't really happening because Spacestation Gaming have their foot on the gas, and the burst is coming through perfectly from Freeze God, so you have to look at that as being a big value orientation here. The Grumpy Bomb will explode, but it'll give Akate a little bit of a chance to zone out, and he catches a very important Frost Bomb. Not that it does enough damage, but it just buys a few more seconds, and now Dosips has Rachao in a corner.
Knocked up, dancing around, 75 to 99. Getting aggressive. I love
Someone's
the way
gotta go.
Dosips is playing this. He's dancing on the objective, but because of the way he's playing it, he's just getting in your face. He's pushing you out if you try to fight him. Unfortunately for him, he's pincered between 2 or 3. Here's another dragon from Hecate, and it's looking to burn down anybody that might be in his way.
Dude, this thing has lasted forever. There's no bulldozer. No one can kill it fast enough. They are shooting a lot at this thing, but it does a great amount of damage in the meantime. However, I don't think it's going to be enough. It feels like there's just not enough sustain on the side of VP, and Space Station will grab yet another one in this South American throwdown here between these two teams. Playing fantastic.
And this is, I mean, goes right back to the question I actually asked you, I think between games 2 and 3 of the last set, where when Genos is taken off the board, one team gets Moldava, what support do you go and how big of a role does that make? Because like right there, the one biggest issue with Saris that has always been is like, yeah, she has great throughput healing. It's going to be immense numbers.
Yeah.
Cauterize 3 is going to hurt it a lot more than you see out of like a Furia Beam.
Absolutely.
But still pretty decent in terms of healing. It only heals one person though, which is the downside.
No gore.
Where you look at the Gord, when you look at maybe even a Ying having the illusions along with now kind of your Shatter being able to heal people when you go live exchange, like those things make a difference. And I'm actually wondering if maybe Ying needs to make that comeback. Maybe Bird is onto something that other teams haven't quite clicked with.
Well, I mean, you know, there's definitely no issue I see with the. I see what they're doing, and I think Sarah scored to give it full credence because Vex is a great player. He knows Paladins so well, spends so many more hours in the game, just because he's also doing content for it as well, plus scrimming. So add everything on top. Even when people take breaks, he's now working again for his channel. So he plays a lot of the game. And I think Saris can work here, but it just is having an issue, and maybe it's just timing with him and Dosips. Space Station Gaming going to tie this one up, and it's just down to one more point. So we'll see how, if they can get it right.
A couple of shields there for SSG. Last round, he was able to get the convergence around the shields, able to kind of play that moment. The minute the shield came out, he was able to make that last second adjustment of, oh, if I throw it here, no one's getting pulled. Makes that last second flick.
Yep.
this time around, he's going to look to do the same thing. Sadak can block it. Rachao can block it.
And there we go.
So you're going to have to look at that. Now there's some bulldozers coming out, 3 of them to be exact, and 2 of them at level 2. A couple of wreckers, so Torvald bubbles not going to be doing as much as they did earlier on. The healing not going to be doing as much as they did earlier on with the cauterized 3s that are online. So Space Station took a little while to get there, but that's what they needed, was some time to buy items, and they got there.
Virtus.Pro have been off to the races, but Space Station Gaming have caught up, and it's the last lap. A couple of dismounts, in fact 3 from Vex on the Ceres. Fishy gets low as well, 12% on the point. Ghostsips throws the wall up. Rachao has to go to the left side. Ghostsips aware, and he's got the Hunter's Mark on him, and there's the King Bomb as well. Freeze God looking for a target on a 12 streak. He's going to go in the dark room. Does he see him coming? Actually backs off because he knows the seismic crash is there and avoids the Frost Bomb as well.
Doing whatever he can to try and get
Oh,
this
Poulet!
aggression going. Poulet falls off the map thanks to Sadak. Midow kills off Fisheko again, and now you're in this position where if you can just bop this Ceres, everyone's left alone. Yeah, that wall's up. You know, shout-outs to Bulldozer, though. If somebody wants to come around and help the team, they can just burn that down.
And that's the benefit of it. SSG have made the adjustment. Sadak knocks off 2, the Torvald, and then the support. They can zone out here and maybe make the difference, but there's an Eevee, and his name is Fisheko, so I wouldn't count him out for sure. VP might have one last chance, and they're going to wait while he's getting healed. Blink in, Soar, Ice Block as well if need be, but he's just going to blink back in the Ice Block to save his life. Overtime taken away. Ghostsips has to get there, Gore. There's the wall, but he's got to go through it because he wasn't close enough, and here's the Dragon.
It's going to guarantee him an overtime touch, but he is at 900 health. He's teetering on life and death, but he does finally go down. Rachao going to be credit for that kill. On Mitchao again, that's the 3rd time he's killed Fisheko from this Moldamba roll, and it looks so good.
And SSG take game 1 against Virtus.Pro, coming back from a 3-1 deficit and turning it around 3 points in a row. Fantastic stuff from them. And Virtus.Pro, no, they could have had that one and maybe let it slip.
I mean, it comes down to, they are drinking the Hulk's blood. At least that's what it looks like.
I mean, that G Fuel, maybe there's something to it.
But,
1-0 with
3-3.
What is it? Apple G Fuel.
The Apple G Fuel. Get some apple juice in those veins. It'll keep you pumping.
Amazing performance score. SSG Virtus.Pro looking like it's going to be a hell of a set. Let's send it back to the desk to break down game 1.
Nick, there are 2 questions that game 1 answered for me. One,
is that the Hulk's blood or Shrek's pee?
That's not the question that was answered for me. Well, which one would give you more energy? Because they fought back. I think the energy kicked in mid-round.
I'm going to say the Hulk's blood because the other's weirder to me.
Speak for yourself.
Hey, man, do you think? It's sanitary, okay?
Either way, my first point is that it worked. Point number 2 is that we survived the vicious spider attack on our lives.
Yes.
We came out unscarred.
I saved Dave's life. Everyone.
Was it just hanging out down there and you gave it a little
was down on the stand-bags, and I said,
Not today.
get out of my house. All right? That's my Dave.
I am. It's, I said it was Gore's world. I'm just living in it. Today it's Nick's world, and I'm just living in it. And here I am.
My damsel in distress.
Fair enough.
Speaking of not damsels,
yeah,
though.
not damsels. I mean, Virtus.Pro, that was 3-1. Virtus.Pro were 1 point away from taking that one in Space Station. Whether it be the green elixir of the gods or just their own willpower, they fight back and they take it 4-3.
Yeah, it ain't pretty.
That's tough. I mean, Virtus, it's tough losing that one for Virtus.Pro. Coming off a loss last week and then nearly winning game number 1 and losing that one. That's got to be a bit of a blow to the morale, at least for the moment. But they're fighters. They'll fight back from this one. If anything else, if nothing else, I should say, it showed us that this set is going to be contended.
It absolutely will be. Both the damsels. A lot of strong women in this set. Nara, Ashe, Amani, Eevee.
Oh, no.
Knockbacks, wreckers coming online late game. These are all things that start to matter a little bit more when you look at this Virtus.Pro composition and what it wants to do to be successful, to win. Shutting down the Eevee quickly. Things that don't fall off, Dave. Damage, amp. You can buy your Havens, things like that. Slow it down a little bit, but not to the degree of, 90% anti-healing, 225% extra damage to shield. I don't know what's so funny, but these guys are all about the love, man.
They're all about the love, and they're feeling it.
These Brazilian guys have been a lot of fun to be around since the first day they came into the scene. Always smiling, always having a good time, and frankly, usually doing pretty damn well at LAN, too.
I think so. Sadak has probably one of the most contagious smiles I've maybe ever seen.
Sadak's a troll.
It's hard not to. Virtus.Pro obviously having a nice chat with themselves in their booth. Did you really see anything that went wrong for them, or did SSG just come out really strong down the stretch.
Not specifically, but I think you start to get in a rhythm, especially with characters like Evie Torvald. Like it's very like clear what you're doing and when you're doing it. So as the game goes on, I think you get better at playing around that and adjusting and things like that. It wasn't a particular moment. It wasn't like somebody made a big mistake or even necessarily a really, really big play. I think that was just a damn close game. 3-4 on the first map. I don't suspect that this set is really going to go much different than how we saw game 1 go.
Another 4-3 in the books maybe in this one. Stone Keep, I mean, that's a map that, I mean, that bodes well for a potential 4-3 in this case. Maybe even the set will be a 4-3. Maybe we'll have a game 7 banger to watch in this one. Makoa Torvald, though, returning back to the ban column in this one. How did you feel about the Torvald in the last game?
I mean, I love Torvald, especially when it's paired with Fasheko Eevee, and I like Torvald with a lot of things, to be honest. I think I like Torvald with any great player being bubble. That was a big win condition for VP when they were able to upset Na'Vi. That was an incredible set. And when you look back on that, you know, we upset one of the best teams. One of our easiest games was the Torvald Eevee win condition. If we can do it there, we can do it here. That's got to be like one of the ways they rationalized it. And I'm really inclined not to disagree at that point. Amani will be banned away, though.
Yeah.
SSG, we talked a lot about this pick and this team in particular. Both of the new characters will take a seat as Khan is left open.
I was going to say that leaves open Khan.
A lot of Genos bans,
Ash
too.
is around as well. Genos has been banned out a good bit today. NIP, though, they got their hands on Genos and Tyra a couple of times, and they made it look pretty scary in set number 1 of the day. Khan, so you look at the frontliners that are still left. You have the Inara, you have Ash, you have Barrick. Still plenty of things that are left around. Virtus.Pro are going to favor the Genos higher in this case and finish out their top 2 with a Cassie. How do you feel about the Cassie?
I do love
I
the
imagine
Cassie,
you feel good.
especially for Hecate. Like I said, with the Amani band, he's got his Leon and he's got his Cassie. And Shaolin, I think, is very fair to throw in there. I think Shaolin is absolutely in the pool of characters Hecate can perform and look really good on. It's just that a matter of the meta hasn't necessarily called for it just yet. And we're starting to see NIP dip their toe into Shaolin a little bit. They've been the trendsetters thus far. We'll see if anybody else elects to follow. Barrick Eevee come through, and I think part of the reason why VP don't really hop it too fast into either of their front line is like if they take Barrick, they're okay getting Ash, they're okay getting the Barrick, whatever SSG end up picking up. I think VP are cool to take whatever's left because there are a decent amount of good frontliners left open in this draft.
And interestingly, if you look at the bans as well, taking away the Imani, I mean, if VP were planning on taking the Cassie anyway, that ban from SSG just doesn't really come into play in this case because you obviously cannot pick the 2 of them on the same squad in this one. So either forced into the Cassie or electing just to take her because they like her. Virtus.Pro, I think, will be happy with the first 2 that they've brought here. Ash still around, and now that you have SSG with both of their frontliners on the board, Virtus.Pro can delay even if they want to go that route, depending on that, although they will have the opportunity to sort of shield one of their 2 final picks. That's the route they'll probably end up going. Fernando's going to make his way through. Ash still on the board. It's going to be the Inara instead.
This is just
How do you feel about those 2?
This is player. This is just Pule Ule and Fernando. It's 2 things that go hand in hand together. It's one of the picks he's played for a very, very long time, and when he was playing with Sadak was more often than not on the Ash, so that comes into effect when you're looking at why is this way. Well, it's trends and things they're comfortable with and ways they've played before, and this has been cool to watch. Even earlier in the set, we watched Bonker pick up this Fernando, even with Inara open. And while that's not exactly the case here, it definitely shows us that with the context of what champions were open in that NIP set, still picking Fernando maybe makes that merit just a little bit stronger here as well.
And they wait till the last pick to bring out the Bomb King. Tyra's on the opposite side for a little damage amp for SSG as well. How are you feeling either way?
Both these teams have the damage amp here. I think both of them definitely have their merits, but I'm liking SSG with the Khan, with the Eevee. It's just so much comfort, I think, on their side of the board. But you're looking at Luminary Bomb King, that's something that is always very difficult for me personally to vote against.
Big game Cassie as well. Lots of burst damage on the table here for Virtus.Pro, and they'll need it. I mean, it's going to be a contended set, I think. I think we all saw that coming into today. We saw it in game number 1. 4-3 is how game number 1 goes. Game number 2 is going to Stone Keep, another highly contended map as well. I would hazard a guess that both teams are going to win a few points on this one.
Absolutely. I think both these teams have picked very good lineups here. I like the Tyra to be able to leverage some of that damage amp back in favor of Fisheko, right? If he can get aggressive on somebody with a mark, that's something that's very hard to play into.
Well, it's game 2. SSG are up 1-0. Let's head down to Stone Keep. Let's head down to Evan and Gore.
Thanks. Thank you so much, man. I'm waiting for Dave's Evan and Nick.
Evan and Nick.
Or Gore and Nick. It really does feel like it could happen.
Feels like most of the time it will be you.
Yeah, I have to be who he's throwing to for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at this point, though, you know, they said it could be a couple of points for each team. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Freeze God kind of had his moment here. He's been waiting to pop off since probably one of the first weeks we've seen him. And this Eevee is no better champion for him to do it.
So now we're going to be dancing around on the Tyra. And Dosup's going to get first blood. And that's exactly what we saw at the beginning of last game, although this time I'd say they may be a little more comfortable doing so with the draft they picked up. Fisheko back on something he is, well known for. Eevee did not quite go the way he wanted. But I feel like this con not quite playing into the hands SSG thought it would.
Yeah, but really good, I mean, min-max of that. He should have died, I think, in Fisheko's eyes, but saves the battle shout for the detonate. Allows a couple of bombs to be there as well. Good ice block, but that's going to shut it down. Fishy beats FRZ God. Battle of the Fs going the way of Virtus.Pro.
You know, I remember last year, that was like our dream matchup, right? It was watching Freeze God and Fisheko just play blasters and fight each other as much as they could. It's exactly what you'd want to see.
Yeah.
And it's just because both of them are so good. They bring a different element to every champion they play. And so this Eevee, this Bomb King, both probably the biggest things that can change the game. But Hecate, another big talking point, ends up dying right there, but I mean, a guy who used to be known for snipers, still pretty well known for his snipers and his hit scan play, but bringing in the folds of the Amani, the Cassie, having some of the projectile, even though they're fast projectiles, having some of that in his champion pool has just been so big.
Yeah, I think it's one of the evolutions of players in the DPS role that we've seen in Paladins. It's no longer this kind of special trait that's really nice if you can have. It's no longer this isolated thing where one person's the blaster main and one person, like, you kind of got to be able to play everything. You know, if it's been this long and you still haven't even prepped a BK or an Eevee, you have to wonder why. I mean, you know, I think at a certain point you know how to play Cassie, so it really is worthwhile for some of these players to start expanding their pools, and we've seen it demonstrated here with a lot of success.
Just getting aggressive throughout there. One of the things, I think specifically, when it comes down to it, you have Bomb King on your team, well, hey, it tends to lean things in your favor. And just like that, I mean, those kinds of moments, yes, he dies almost immediately after, but he takes the trade that was so important for them. Unfortunately for Virtus.Pro, the rest of the team ends up falling as well. Ares, the damage amp coming through, looks pretty good, but both teams have one or another version of it.
And good play by Ares as well, just to move away the second he realizes, uh-oh, Fernando also going to push me. Tyra has no mobility, so she is going to get run down. She's got to stay safe, and Ares doing a good job of being patient with that. Mid-Tao, as you had mentioned, hit some huge stuns in the last game, and Jaguar falls, and now looking to contribute the same level of utility with that Dread Serpent, but it's not charged back up yet. So if it does seem like Virtus.Pro want to hit the gas pedal, SSG could be a little behind.
I mean, they're in that exact area they need to be, right? Comfort is speaking wonders. So unfortunately losing Dosups early on, though, which I think is going to end up maybe closing that door for them. They can hold on to overtime as much as they want. They might be able to get him back in time, especially since he's going to be running back mounted. But Pule has to play it carefully. Fisheko has to play it carefully. They need to keep up the kills. And admittedly, 2 is going to be enough to keep him around, but I don't know if it's enough to give him the momentum.
And that's actually a decent mark. They have the Genos mark, but he doesn't need to be in line of sight. He could just stay there. That mark's not really doing a lot of value unless they go and push him, but that draws him comparatively away from the point where they'd like to be contesting, and here it is. They are going for it. Virtus.Pro with an Immortal. Fishy finds the first one. Grumpy Bomb as well. Gets a little bit of damage on FRZ God, and he tries to Poppy Bomb Sadak off the point. Just going to hop up. See if he can get some more damage. King Bomb would have to be used here to make a big play, but he's just going to back it off. SSG, Virtus.Pro, they both gamble a little bit, but eventually they get the Dome Shield from Spacestation, and that feels like a win.
That's the play you have to make. Like, what trades are you willing to throw out there? And they drop the Immortal, and that's it. They're like, you know what? after this Immortal, we lose Dose-Ups immediately. It's not looking like a sure thing. Don't use any other ults. But a Dread Serpent, a Dome Shield was used on the other side. Storm, the Ice Storm was used slightly before that, so it wasn't used for that engagement, but it's still going to be on cooldown coming into the round, which is going to make, again, just the small differences. That's one target that now Eevee might not be able to isolate and kill off on her own. She might need a little more help with it. She can't just go on to Hecate and expect it to be a win. And so small things like that could change it up for Spacestation Gaming, whereas Virtus.Pro, King Bomb, through time and space. They have the Scout to be able to get vision on everybody, and soon enough they're going to have the Seismic Crash.
Well, it looks like the Earthen Guard's been activated to allow some CC immunity from Dose-Ups and just get that healing stay really secure on that objective. Vex has a nice line of sight here. Could be a few members kind of creeping into a beautiful angle for a through time and space, and we do have that right here. He's going to go for it, hits the damage. Seismic Crash a little bit off. Sadak takes a lot, but he gets the overpower to miss. So Vex, at the end of the day, I think trades a much more important ult for one that at least got some value.
And I mean, being able to make that decision right then, where he's just like, oh, Khan's looking at me, I'm going to take a sidestep to this tree because he's going to ult. Like, that is a prediction through and through, and that is Vex reading what Sadak had coming for him. Unfortunately, didn't account for the fact that he was just going to be like, cool, I missed my ult, I'm just going to jump down and do it the old-fashioned.
I still have a weapon.
Roll his sleeves up and just get into the mud with him.
All right, you're going to make me come out there, huh? I mean, talking to a kid who's misbehaving, won't come in for dinner time. And Sadak absolutely being a lights-out performer here for Space Station. Fasheko here throws a couple of bombs, but again, a great battle shout. And this is bad news for the Eevee. She's going to get Fasheko first, though, as Freeze God somehow outmaneuvers that one. Times it perfectly. It's another on the Vex. FRZ God popping off a little bit here.
And doing exactly what he needs to. Timing things right, knows the ramp
up
of the Bomb King ult so he can play with the timer there. And then the rest of it's just smooth movement. Now it's zoning, now it's dismounts. And before, it was just kills, kills, kills.
And we were mentioning this a little, that, you know, he was kind of waiting for that moment to kind of show us why people talk about him so much. And that was maybe a little bit of a glimpse for all of you. And I'm sure there's still more in the tank here. SSG now in the lead. And it's the first time they've actually led in this set pretty commandingly at the start of a game and not just winning at the very end of a round. So it's a good look for them. Now get their try at offense here.
Oh, there it is. The overpower does get the grab. I was waiting to see if that was going to come through. There were a couple people who were bouncing up around this balcony trying to figure out whether or not, or I guess the catwalk really, as they were bouncing around trying to figure out who was going to take that aggression. Unfortunately, the shot hit Fasheko. Once you lose Bomb King pressure, it's a lot just more difficult to hold onto the high ground, onto the point, like onto everything coming into this last little bit of push.
I mean, Fasheko's Bomb King is so good where it really is that dynamic. If it stays alive, it just adds such a threat level to the battlefield. But when it is gone, it does feel like FRZ got SSG. They kind of come alive. They realize that there isn't that big bad wolf waiting in the forest, and they can stay out a little late without worried about repercussions here. Already the repercussions flowing in smoothly. Nice Dread Serpent! And that's going to shut the shield down, and that's going to just stroll things in. Mittal playing wonderfully today.
And that's, I'm glad you said it, because that's what's true for me right now. Once everyone on this team for Space Station has proven themselves to be a top 4, if not even higher, placed team when they're on all cylinders. But the way things are going, Mittal today has done so much for this team in terms of Dread Serpents, the Snake Toss stuns, as well as just sometimes outright kills that he's been able to get from this Maldamba. Those things, as we've seen with Spunky, as we've seen with Mr. Hayes, they will win you a world championship. That is what you need in your support to make that difference. 2-0-18, he's on a 20 streak. He knows what he's doing, and he's in the zone.
He's been doing it for 2 games in a row now, so that's a problem for Virtus.Pro. They have to somehow shut this guy down. He can't be on 20s and 30 streaks multiple games in a row. Every game this set, it's not going to work out for them, as SSG already in the lead over Virtus.Pro, who have led multiple times in the individual games, but haven't found the results they've been looking for. An early seismic crash here from VP and Dose-Ups, and they are going to find Sadak off of that, so what can they do?
As of right now, they're just trying to be able to find their way back to the point, use the double comeback mechanic to get in the zone, and that's going to be a King Bomb to open up the door. One more bomb should do it, but Fasheko actually not going to escape it on the tail end of that explosion. It catches him, and it burns her while she tries to run.
And that is, I mean, perfect payback and a perfect response from Virtus.Pro. They know they have the fast cap, so they take the pace into their own hands. They immediately seismic crash. They isolate their targets, and a lot of teams need to learn how to do that more often. You know, seismic crash onto one main tank or one support, that's value. You don't need to hit 5 people. And we see it a lot at this high level, but sometimes we see it less than maybe we should. Let's put it that way, and Dosib shows us how powerful it can be just to eliminate somebody who's been playing well.
Sadak literally playing with life and death right now. The shield comes up, but it's not going to do enough there. Maybe a little too aggressive for too long. Actually loses 3 members there of SSG, so Virtus.Pro should be able to get a little bit of zone. But there it is again. Look, and he didn't die either off of that engagement. Gets aggressive, gets a kill, and while he did lose his streak a little earlier in the fight, manages to escape Virtus.Pro's clutches right there. And that's the thing. I think Mitao, and what we saw last set coming down from Bird, what we have seen the last few weeks, I love when a Maldamba player brings that level of play. Because, like, Maldamba is, I'm going to say difficult. Like, if you're watching this at a casual level, Maldamba is not the starter support.
No,
Maldamba is the, you've been playing for a few years, we can upgrade you. He's got hit scan, he's got the gourd, he's got a beautiful ult with the Dread Serpent. But there's so many small nuanced things that you have to be able to do with him that I feel like you're only going to see the greats be able to bring him to his full potential. But Midtau's putting his name on that list.
Can we take a look at the damage charts as well? Because one thing I'm noticing is Mitao is actually doing quite a bit of damage for Adamba, keeping up with the Genos. And that's a very strong thing, especially since Genos is just, you don't have to sacrifice healing for shooting.
Yeah.
You can do the shooting and the healing. You can't for Adamba. And so he's actively making these decisions to heal, shoot. He's just making such good use of his time. And that's something that, you know, supports, like you mentioned, don't get shouted out enough. So I'm glad we can do it here. Mitchell giving us a reason to talk highly of him. And Barry's nice little combo there with the grenade. A couple of headshots going to end Fisheko early. As Virtus.Pro not really able to get much going off of this point capture.
In a really good zone so far. Again, looking at the health bars, unfortunately, a lot of members on SSG going to fall right here. It's going to give Virtus.Pro the chance to touch back. Double kill from Hecate as he comes back to life.
He's been quiet.
But they're going to come through. This is where things were a little uncomfortable for them the first round. They come through. Can you break? Take the high ground, take the catwalk, take the stairs, and push this payload down.
Feels like Hecate's been a little quiet today.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's just the Imani start and then into the Cassie. You know the hit scan is kind of more of his thing, but hasn't made this as much of an impact. I think Fisheko's definitely been my my most impactful DPS player so far today, but still a lot to kind of watch here. This set, very contested, 4 threes. Seems very plausible. Defense doesn't go through. Nobody really wastes too much on that one.
And I did this yesterday when I mentioned it on Esports Weekly, and I feel like it's worth mentioning here. But Hecate is in a very unique position. As you call him, he was a specialist, right? He's very, very adept at hit scan. You put him on a Leon, you put him on a Kinesi, you put him on a Strix, and he will win that 1v1 every day. But when you put him on things like the Cassie, like the Imani, you can just tell it's not as comfortable. He's still really good. It's still one of the best DPS you have, and if you put this guy into PML, you put him anywhere else in Paladins, he's going to destroy anyone he's against. But because everyone at this level is so highly valued, it almost feels like, you know, this quiet game is not typical of him. It's not something you expect. And I think that's why it's good he's getting it in now, because he needs that performance. It's one of the things that makes Virtus.Pro so good.
And I mean, they're really credit to Fishy as well. Sadak with another big miss there for SSG. This might be the moment. And Hecate notably not running big game. And that couple of moments that might have really actually helped to finish off some of these front lines. Oh, big fireball from Pule Ule. Takes down Ares, even though he was crippled in that moment. That was a kill that, you know, 5 times out of 10 maybe goes through, but he got lucky in the odds there. And Rachao, however, takes a spill as well. Virtus.Pro come out swinging, and they're already done. They're going to capture this point.
And that's exactly what they need, comeback mechanic enabled, so they're going to be able to capture this a little faster, but I mean, SSG haven't been anywhere. They haven't even been able to touch until just then. It's going to be a 99-0, 100-0 as it comes through. And it's just, here, I'm going to put you low, and then I'm going to let someone come through and either finish you off or you just can't fight. It's not even a, I want to say, a matchup where it is boxing, where it's just like, we took out 2 of you, you took out 3 of us, and we just happen to be able to come out on top. It was just, yeah, we pushed you back. Good luck.
And, you know, I mean, there's some things that these teams are so good at as far as being a team, doing the right things. Ares almost takes this bill there. Midtow keeps him alive, gets the final kill as well, which is so important. It wasn't Ares who got the damage, it was the support. Sadak here missing that overpower. I mean, how often? I think it's been twice in 2-point fights that has quit. So if they do defend here, SSG's got to be feeling good about what happens if they hit one. But it's not easy. A lot of slippery, tricky targets. The change on this made it so it's much more of a skill shot. And there are windows where you can easily miss. As Sadak on the defense just kind of bites off a little more than he can shoot.
This is just looking very similar to the last couple of rounds. Could still end up being a 4-3, though. A minute and 20 is plenty of time for Virtus.Pro to make something work. It just depends on how the tango's going to go, right? Yeah. Who's stepping on whose feet, if they're stepping on anyone's feet at all. It's been kills for Virtus.Pro, but it's Fasheko that's popping up and popping off. If you get rid of him, I think it slows down a lot more for Virtus.Pro here.
I mean, they're being so annoying, and I think it's a great thing to say because if you play Paladins, you know what this is like. When an Eevee's in your back line, she just won't go away. You can't, like, ignore her. One of the hardest things to do is just say, you know what, all right, I'm going to turn and focus on the point. This is a risk, both for Fasheko and for Spacestation, for Virtus.Pro, because they don't know what's going to happen. And Sadak, does he whiff again? No, he fires one off, but I believe it's Puleole who's able to make his way back onto the point for some reason, or maybe he had to get rid of it early. Either way, doesn't find the kill he was looking for. Spacestation Gaming now without the Tyra. And FRZ God finding a Kate here should at least buy them some time, but they lose Rich How.
And that's going to be the big one. Freeze God going to be dancing around. There's a couple of low health bars, but you have to choose the right target. Immortal has been popped, so no death for just a few seconds. But now you can go back in, you can look for it, but you're losing Sadak. You're losing Midal in the process, and this payload's creeping ever closer. It almost got through.
Yeah, and they need the dome shield. He's going to get it. This is definitely what they didn't want to really gamble, but they're going to have to because this is looking way too close. Luckily, the general ceiling shouldn't say Pule here, especially if the shield is on cooldown. Rocket Boot's going to do a great job to just give him that extra bit of sustain. And although Dosips is tanky, what is he going to do against this? Richao standing tall, but here's a Kate as well. He finds the final kill. It's Midtown and Virtus.Pro. They tie it up. They gambled everything on SSG, but they just couldn't stop the avalanche.
I mean, that was about to come into a really awkward point fight. Everyone's using their ults trying to defend that, and it almost happens. But it is that last bit of pressure that comes through. We watch the coaches go by. Surprisingly enough, I don't think I've ever seen
them talking
the
to each
two
other.
Coaches, conversing, walking through. And I'm wondering, I mean, these two, the teams have that history together. Coaches probably do too.
Looked like they were saying, yeah, nice push there. Oh, yeah, we should have definitely held off on that, but, like, good job. I mean, Kresnik, they seem like the guys that
I feel
would
like
have
it's
that
really hard to
conversation.
look at Kresnik and be mad because he's just going to give you a goofy smile.
Impossible. Kresnik, good guys for sure. Let's send it back to the desk here. All squared away after game 2 here between SSG and Virtus.Pro.
I think in this case, squared away is somehow an understatement for how closely these two teams have played each other. 4-3 goes the way of SSG. Another 4-3, in this case, goes the way of Virtus.Pro. I mean, you could cut this one on a knife's edge. I've harped on it time and time again how contended it's going to be, and I think these first 2 games have shown that.
Definitely, and it's just slightly different this time around that it shakes the way of Virtus.Pro, and that's the way Game 1 felt to me as well. It's like, man, I mean, sometimes these guys are crushing the fight, sometimes SSG are crushing the fight. That was essentially the way most of Stone Keep went, and it came down to just the showdown, throwing it down. Look at this, 16-10, 16-10, the Blasters. Same damn slash line, nearly the same damn damage numbers. Like, it's coming down to who wins what fight. How does the combination of points up on the scoreboard play off? Fun to note the little changes in a couple of talents there. The impulse instead of the big game. Stuff like that is always fun to watch along with.
Was Amani banned out this last game?
She was.
I think she was banned
Atlas
out. Okay.
and Amani both.
I was going to say, I was surprised to not see her come through. That's right. She was banned out. Fasheko, though, really coming to life here on this Bomb King. We get to see some highlights of it. It seemed like time and time again he was finding a way to just kind of wedge his way into these team fights, even if he didn't start it off maybe in the best position. He was finding a good way of rotating in, making his impact felt. 133,000 damage, call it 134, and 2.5 KDA.
Yeah.
He's a big reason VP won this one.
Absolutely. You know, hit or miss at times, but the Bomb King has always been a staple of his champion pool, and it's something he's probably going to go to in that Game 7 when it's time for Comfort to be Comfort. FRZ got kind of the same thing there. We talked a lot about Bomb King. We talked a lot about Eevee between these two guys so far. One has played both. FRZ God has played the Eevee as well. So
does not look like a guy who just
He's not stressing right now.
He is about as cool, calm, and collected as you can get. You got the foot up on the desk. You got the coach coming back into the room there. I mean, your boss comes in. You're still kicking your feet back. That's about as relaxed
He's in
as you
control.
can get.
He's in control of the situation.
He knows who's in charge in this case.
Yes, sir. And we got to kind of sit and chat and talk a little bit about why Fernando here. And part of that was, you know, it can be a bit of a struggle at times to solo heal with this Genos. So you have to sort of pick and play your front line around that properly and the way that the formidable talent works. I'll be honest, that's not something I give enough credit to or I even talk about enough when I talk about Fernando. I talk about, you know, the fireballs and being able to stick on people. Big ultimate. I think Fernando's got one of the best ultimates in the game to combo off of and to turn team fights around. But that formidable talent, that healing once you fall below, I believe it's 60% HP, is so valuable.
I feel like I gave Fernando a bad rap in the past just because of. I mean, in reality, he's
he's a very
second or
basic character.
Right.
He's like Victor. There's a lot of nuance to these very simple characters to make them playable at the highest level.
And he looked pretty good in that one. It's gonna be a Cassie Genos ban here from SSG, so neither ban really on their own all that surprising, but seeing both of them paired together, that leaves a lot open. Atlas, Makoa go away. So Khan goes the way of SSG in this case, but Torvald's still around, which is, I think, most notable coming out of this.
Yep.
We saw Torvald already in this set.
Beatable.
It is beatable.
That's why I think they let it go there. They love Khan. Sadak loves him some Khan. So if they've beat it once before, they're totally fine to let it go again. They've got ways around it, I'm sure. And if they don't pick it up, then SSG say, well, in this case, maybe we take our turn at this. I will say, playing Torvald with an aggro tank like Torvald Ashe, Torvald Atlas, Torvald Khan is a little bit risky, and it's not done very often. A lot of times you do want that dedicated Barrack, that dedicated Inara to lock down the objective, so it's a combination that we may not see here.
Well, in this case, we don't. We get the Barrack, which is one of the names that you had called there, so Barrack's going to come out, as well as the Damba. You have him providing you some healing as well there on the point. And then the Ying on the opposite side, we saw Ying come out today, and Bird had kind of mentioned that. I mean, she's just a good champion. She's not necessarily the best healer, not necessarily the worst, but in specific situations, you get the right person playing her, she can perform really, really well. Do you like the Ying pick on the VP side?
I think, you know, Vex is an incredible support player that puts a lot of time and would love for every support to be viable. So I think he's done his homework on all these supports and knows how he can operate on any single one of them. I think Ying has one of the stronger pocket heals in the game, to be honest with you, to be able to make sure that Inara stays nice and healthy. Her ultimate is up. Her ultimate's very simple. It's just healing throughput. It's all it is. It's not too much. You can blow somebody up. If you get caught 2 online, like, you could still kill somebody through the Ying ultimate, but it's up a lot. That's one of the big things about Ying ultimate, is that if you use it liberally, it can be something that's very frustrating and difficult to fight through.
Interesting lineup here for SSG. I was about to say, actually, that we haven't seen much Ruckus. Actually, there's a couple things to break down here. VP get the Torvald, SSG get sort of that hybrid triple tank front line. What are your thoughts on either side there?
I mean, going for the double or the triple tank here is it's. I almost don't like. I don't want to call Pip a support. I almost don't really want to call Ruckus a tank. Like he very never plays the objective. That's not what he's there to do. He's as much of a bruiser that as Pip is, just in a different way. He has more HP and a shield, whereas Pip just has a ton of self-healing to keep himself alive. They both do good damage. They don't necessarily perform the role they're listed as in-game. But now I'm just wondering who's playing what for SSG. I know Rashad loves his Barrack, but between Khan and Ruckus, you know, Sadak and those guys need to figure out who's going what and how they'll be utilized. This is a very interesting comp that I can't wait to see played by SSG.
Well, we at least know who the healer and the Eevee are going to on that side. But it is game 3.
Sure.
Some interesting lineups coming out of here from SSG. It's time to see if this one's another 4-3 on the plate. Send it down to your casters to find out.
And I think this could be. It seems like this set will continue our 4-3 drama as we head to Bright Marsh here for game number 3. Some team's going to take a lead here. Gore, who's your money on after seeing these lineups?
I'm leaning over towards Virtus.Pro.
Yeah.
I think
Don't trust the triple tank, huh?
it's just one of those things that I like what Nick said, where Ruckus is very much a bruiser. but I don't know if that's going to bring to the table what they had in game one
missed
that
the
was
jump.
able to deal with the Imani Torvald, right? In game one, they were able to deal with it because they could itemize into it. They had the tire for damage, and like they had a lot on SSV. I just don't know if it's going to bring it this time.
Well, I don't know the angle. I mean, Sadak was there late. He missed the jump. That is important. And sometimes it is tricky to do, but you got to hit that. But Sheko's under a lot of fire, let's put it that way. Luckily, though, anybody who is in the flank category, damage category, would have died by now for sure. Spacestation Gaming not only been able to kind of throw some damage out there, but they've been able to control the objective. However, it seems like it could be falling. Sadak surely going to go down here, and they need some support somewhere. Maybe it's from this Eevee, but FRC God goes down. Rachel, the only one to have found a couple of kills here, and he's found two himself before going down.
Well, they're showcasing the moment, and this is actually what I think is big from Virtus.Pro. First off, well, they have the Torvald. Torvald is going to augment so many things, but if you're looking at it specifically, you're looking at Bomb King, Fasheko, already a nutty combo. Add in damage after that, becomes pretty deadly. And then, of course, the Imani. And throughout all of that, it showcased Frost Bomb is going to be very good. Yeah, you're going to be tankier, but if we lock you in place, we're at least going to be able to burn through your health. And the thing is that that's how I'm kind of viewing Hekate for this game. His shots are going to be amazing, and of course, hitting them is going to make a difference. But if he hits a Frost Bomb and then dies, he's fine. Because then Fasheko has easy target following.
I mean, Rachel has been trading so nicely. He found Hekate, and we talk about how good this guy is on point takes. He keeps proving it. A little bit of wind dancer there from Torvald. It's going to speed up the King Bomb from Fasheko. That should do at least for Virtus.Pro for now. They've got no healer. They've only got two tanks and an Eevee, and FRC God has been able to find his moments, and that's what they're counting on. So far, Virtus.Pro.
Oh, that was such a good prediction. It's one of those moments of, well, I know who Eevee's looking for right now. Frost Bomb into the air, and because of the way it works, because its detonation size is pretty big as well, you just throw it, and then by the time she blinks,
You're fine.
You're probably going to connect if she blinks towards you at all. If he blinks a little more to the side, maybe it doesn't connect, but Hekate was
like
better.
deep sea fish. You throw a big old net out in there, and you're like, something's going to get caught. I'm going to come back in a little while. Something's going to be in there.
You don't have to worry about your aim. I'm interested to see how some of those changes coming in the next update are going to affect that, because like the biggest change is it's going to move slower, and you can't increase the route. We don't really see people increasing the route that much anymore, but moving slower does make a big difference.
Yeah, no, 100%. So we'll see how that impacts it, and also maybe moving faster.
Yeah.
We'll see if that is something that people go into as well, because you could have that potential to be even more deadly in the back line and really set something up. God knows Freeze God doesn't need 2 seconds to kill you. He only needs about 0.8. That's for sure. But right now, this triple take lineup has not really succeeded, Gord. We're looking at what it's doing. It buys time. It creates pressure. It lives in 1v1s pretty nicely. But Virtus.Pro have done a great job of not allowing a lot of 1v1s like we're seeing here. The pace, we mentioned Sadak missing that jump.
Yeah.
It kind of slowed them down, and what this lineup has been about is pressure, 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 always being first, being ahead, keeping you on the back foot. And FRC God hasn't been able to find kills yet. So is this something you see happening, changing in the future?
I mean, it's something that I feel like is not only a deficit to them, but I think it's actually part of the composition they're playing, right? Like, if they miss a stride on triple front line, you lose pretty much everything you have. You don't have retaking power. You have staying power.
Yeah.
That's why something like this is so easy to do. It's a team built for defense. It's a team built to make a 4-3, and it's a team who makes it there, maybe not by capturing the point the whole time, but if Sadak gets up there early, and he gets that pressure, if he opens up the door for Freeze God to start coming around and have maybe a little more protection, I absolutely think that's what they need to get on the point and stay on the point. The problem is if they lose it, it's gone.
And I honestly I also maybe see a little bit in the players as well, because as much as I love Aries, you know, my brother, he's not really been doing a lot of what I think the Khan needs to do in this matchup. And going on that left side, isolating himself, there's so much value in playing the Khan as a duo, you know, as a partner, versus, you know, in an isolated position. Rotating with even the Barrack in the middle and then popping out to the left, it's something that's possible. But he's just not having that kind of threat that we've seen Bonker, that we've seen Diggy Dog provide on the champion. Even that we've seen G-Bunny provide, because he's got a great Khan in the back pocket as well. So we'll have to see if this continues. Virtus.Pro in the overtime, and looking real good to start this one out.
I mean, Fasheko kind of playing base guard, trying to keep everyone locked down up here on the balcony, but it's not going to work out too well. Now he's just dealing damage to Rachel, and he's hitting him pretty hard. He's going to take Freeze God to the back, but it doesn't matter. Everyone's distracted by the Bomb King or something, and Rachel is the only one on the objective.
Yeah, so not enough lethality. And that's going to be up to the Khan. That's going to be up to the Ruckus. And it's going to be up to FreezeGod to finish it off. So far, though, Akate doing really well. Great adjustments from Virtus.Pro. Just a week, and they've got the Imani in the back pocket. And also a notable tendency for SSG to not really use the Imani.
And that's, again, last week, it hurt them. And everyone coming out of it was saying, you need these. This week, all I've heard was, okay, we'll make those work.
We'll let Torvald through.
And I don't see it happening. And I feel like maybe they have practiced the Imani, they practice against the Imani, and so they know more what to expect from her. I think it's that combo that you just mentioned. It's Torvald coming through as well. You're having to deal with multiple things at once here that just aren't quite clicking on all cylinders.
Now, I think I like this because this really just stops the pressure. But did someone get around? I think someone got around. Yeah, it's Sadak. He's in the back line. Our cameraman couldn't quite catch it there, but he is definitely the one who's pressuring out and finding the kill. And Vex now having to use that dimensional link, and great fake out there as well just to stay alive. And now it's time for SSG to try to retake this point. It looks like they're going to have no problem doing it.
I mean, they're going to do a lot of damage here, and this is probably the worst moment to be in as a front line. You are on the objective, and you're the only one there. And you're surrounded by 5. Everyone's shooting you. It is, I would argue, one of the worst feelings to have in Paladins. Because you have enough health that you're not getting burnt down immediately. Like, you have to stand there and accept your fate.
Right.
So it's definitely rough there for Doseph, and with the double comeback again against Spacestation Gaming, they should be able to hold on to it, but Doseph slinked around and got back on.
Wow, everyone is just losing track. It's the smallest map in the game. How are you guys losing track of all these fat front lines? And Nara and Ruckus turning into
big offense.
Yeah, she might be, but she's big enough to take big offenses as well. She's what, 8 feet tall? I mean, come on, Nara. She's not fitting any smalls anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
Made out of rock. Okay.
Hey, she's I was gonna say something I thought was funny, but we'll see if that continues in my mind, because that's where it's gonna stay. Ares here on a double kill. Virtus.Pro 2-0, but now SSG 2-1 as they find that objective. It kind of all went wrong with the 2 frontliners as far as Sadak and Doseph making it through. Sadak the more lethal because he trades out with the Imani Dragon. Right as I was praising it.
And that's the thing. Imani's Dragon. And especially on a map like Brightmarsh, you're just kind of wide open. There's not many places that are safe on this map. And the way I've described it in the past, and I think it's worth mentioning for Imani's Dragon, is you need to be... The ideal situation is safe and in the fight. And on Brightmarsh, there is no safe and in the fight.
Yeah, no, there really isn't. And also, these angles are not being checked. I mean, you can tell it's just such an intense, fast-flying map and matchup between these 2 teams that little details are going out the window here. And there's a lot of passion in this game. There's a lot of just go for it in this game. And I think that is going to play a significant part of the dynamic here as the payload continues to move, but it's Sadak and Midtow who need to make their way back, and so they will just back off as a unit for a little while. Richao on the barrack, just commending him again and again on his play on a 10 streak and getting grouped up with the other big beefy tanks over there. Nice pull.
It's going to be a kill right there, and that... It's one of those moments, the timing, especially on Brightmarsh, it's just enough. You get a couple kills, 3 kills, 4 kills, and all of a sudden you move right back to that payload. It's already moving things to Eevee. So Pulawile forced to fall back and try to defend that a little bit. This is going to be a very staggered Torvald.
And they killed him now. You definitely could have waited a little bit longer, but you know what? Get the kill. Sometimes you just got to keep your foot going down and really on the throat of your opponent here. Doseph's trying to just buy some time in space. There's the Dragon as well, Akate. He's going to get a little bit of pressure from it. Vex will clean up the kill on the Ares, but Ares trades with Doseph's, and now the Dragon is down. It's still 18 seconds left, and it's Midtow with a Dread Serpent that's going to trade out nicely with Fisheko, but Vex takes down FreezeGod.
And now it's going to be front lines and support versus front lines and support, although there's going to be a little more damage over here. Ying trying to dimensional link around. Imani going to respawn right here, so Frostbomb, Inferno Cannon going to do some wonders, but this is going to be enough. I mean, this is going to be defense, proximity all the time for Virtus.Pro. SSG are still going.
Oh, baby. Midtow gets the final blow to help his frontline take down Fisheko. Sadak dies a moment after, but there's enough on the point that they can inch it through. Another moment of Midtow just being fantastic. And a great adjustment here from Ares, sticking more with the unit and really helping to give that off-support healing that Khan can provide to a battle.
So, one of the things that surprised me for that defense. Amani Dragon comes out again.
Yeah.
Something that we honestly only see in desperation, I want to say, on a scenario like that. That was absolutely Virtus.Pro calling for, we need this to defend or else we are not defending.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately for them, and this is, again, what goes back to the point fight. You want to be in the fight and stay safe. There's nowhere on Bright Marsh that really feels that way.
Not
The
really.
most you would think is, well, at least I'm on my balcony. You know, this is
Yeah.
like I'm right here just outside the base, like I'm covered. Except there's an Eevee on the
Yeah,
other team.
exactly.
And that's what happened to Hecate. The dragon comes out. It doesn't die from getting destroyed. Eevee got behind it.
Wow. So much value here initially from the King Bomb. Sheko, he's going to find Sadak. And it's really going to force SSG back. I mean, someone has to make a big play here, and that's a good battle shout. That's going to get about 3,000 health onto the battlefield, and the overpower. What an outplay, because any more damage, and he would surely die. The only way to stop it all and stay alive was to use the ultimate, and now they have a chance.
Doing his best Diggy Dog impression, Aries, making sure he stays alive a little bit. No credits for the kill, no double kills coming through, but it's going to be enough to keep him alive in the game. And now, all of a sudden, again, Space Station, they aren't afraid to let the Torvald through, and early on it hurts them, but right now it seems they've figured it out. It's going to take a while to catch up to that 84 Virtus.Pro stacked up.
Incredible stuff here. Virtus.Pro trying to get their way back with a siege. Sadak activates the emitter and just sticks with the damage, and it's enough. The Dread Serpent again coming in clutch from mid-tower, but Aries finding Kuleole will have to know that Sadak has gone down, and so has Aries after this result. So this should be interesting. Dosip still on the point and fighting, but he goes down here thanks to Freeze God.
Very unfortunate timing. It was just as that Shatter came online, so not quite able to get the heal that he wanted from Vex. But it was enough, and that's all you need. Everyone was distracted trying to kill Dosip, so everyone else got away with it. There's going to be just overkill put into Sadak, but it's going to be enough to save this one.
Yeah, and that's definitely what you wanted.
Okay, that was overkill.
Well, maybe a little bit of a smirk on his end, but
That's the,
I think a guarantee on his end as well, because you know he probably sat on that Hyper Beam for like 3
2
rounds.
rounds, yeah. At this point, like, it's 2.5 rounds. He charged it up at the beginning of the game, and
I
he's
agree
just
with
been holding it. And it's that moment of, unless he happens to be where that Ying illusion is, or where Amani is right now, where Hecate was standing, and everybody on SSG stands in front of him.
Yeah.
Hyper Beam is cool on this map. You can get kills with it, but it's just people. They have to make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to play poorly against it, and most people don't make that mistake at this level.
Fisheko finding mid-tower. I mean, if that can keep happening, it is going to look bad for SSG, because mid-tower is such a cornerstone for how well they've been playing, keeping everybody alive. FRC having to just run away for the moment. Next, good heal. Playing, obviously, the life exchange style. And Hecate going to find Sadak there. Aries shut down Dosips, though, so trades and trades and trades. There's not really one kill that doesn't go unanswered with at least 2 or 3 more in this matchup.
Couple of kills. And that's just, yeah, this one's been way more blow for blow. I feel
It's
like in
bloody.
the last couple of games, it has been like one team wins the fight, one team wins the fight, like trading team fights. This feels more, we're just trading kills. We're just figuring out like how this goes down. Whoever, and I said this last game, where it's just whoever has more people left standing is the one who's going to be able to walk away a little bit happier than the others.
Oh, no.
That was such a good clock.
Yeah, and it was just good positioning, and Do just underestimated the distance that throws you. Because admittedly, I'm sure Do isn't getting thrown very often off Bright Marsh by players that are like way better than him. I mean, there's not really a lot of players that are way better than him in the world. Aries, one of those that has the rare foresight to just say, you know what, I think I can hit this one, and Dosips maybe underestimates him for a moment. Not again, I'm sure. 30 seconds still left, though, for Virtus.Pro to get back. They're halfway through on the push.
A couple of good shots here could make the big difference. Freeze God slowly but surely on the retreat. I like the call from SSG is give up the ground, let them have it, because we still have the payload under control. We can go back and have this essentially as a mid fight instead of having to fight around this payload. But don't die too early.
Good slither.
5, 3, 2.
Build time gonna. Actually, are you kidding me?
touchdown.
Dosips is behind everyone again. Dosips,
SSG now?
Nara.
Yeah, okay, they saw him. They've spotted him.
All right.
They're going to it. I was like, if Nara backdoors, then you're looking for the wrong thing.
He's losing everybody at this point. I'm having to call this out because, yeah, he's sneaky. He's sneaky. Dosip's doing some good things, keeping it interesting, but not interesting enough. It's still a 3-3. And this is really what I think set things up. The King Bomb with the Dragon backing him up. Talk about bringing your boys with you.
I feel like that's that kind of fight where it's like, like the guy's kind of big enough that he could hold his own.
Yeah.
But like, it's a group fight, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's 5 guys on me, and it's like I'm gonna go get my dad. And then his dad walks up, and his dad's like a bodybuilder.
The Rock.
He flexes at you, and it breaks 3 of your bones immediately, and you're just like, okay, you know what? He's pretty scary, and that's Hekate's dragon. That's what that brings. But the big thing is that King Bomb protected him in a way, right? That King Bomb was enough noise, like shaking something shiny over here, to make you look and worry about that, so that Hekate could be a little safer.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they can make it work twice in a row.
Aries again going to this left-hand side. I think it's great that he just heads to the center, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to go support Rachel, and that's a very good thing. Now just keeping these angles gives a little bit of a heal to Sadak, so he doesn't have to use the emitter quite as early. And Sadak finds Fasheko off of it. They're going to get Dosif off that kill, and now they've got the zone. They've got the space. It's up to them to really lose this fight because they have had control taken away from Virtus.Pro.
And just being able to, again, push him out, get a couple of shots, dismount. This time around, don't let Dosif slip by out of your clutches.
He's trying.
And that's going to be exactly what you need. There's going to be the dragon. And this time around, they're going to take the fight from a little further away. That's actually part of the dragon's weakness. It doesn't actually have that range to fight. But if it gets in here on this point, it's going to be deadly.
And there's a big bubble because they want to kill Fishy right now, and they've dove it. They've dove for it. They've basically gone off the high ground. And I think they will get it, but another bubble saves his life. Are you kidding me? Mitao trying to heal up Sadak, but Rachel and him fall. They've chased the King, but the King has come out alive. And now Virtus.Pro have a chance to zone in one.
Not only comes out alive, but they come out with 2 kills that they pick up in the meantime. They get an Ice Storm to come out. There's no ults now on the side of SSG once that overpower comes through. And if they didn't kill Fasheko there, that'd be a serious issue. But that wall is so gorgeous. Overtime's going to tick through. They're still going to get the touch. But that Hyper Beam didn't get to come through.
Oh no, Pule was blocked off to support Dosif's because it was the greater good. He said, I'm going to trap at least 4 of them out of the point. But he also trapped the person who could have given him bubbles, given him a little bit of health. It was a pretty tough situation, but it looks like SSG, having won the earlier part of the fight, are going to win the later part as well and take the victory and go ahead in this set 2-1.
That was absolutely, I got punched, turned around, punched them, they punched back. Like, they're just going back and forth between these 2 teams. I expect this to be,
It's a boxing
at this
anime
rate,
at this
we're going to
point.
go 7 4-3s in a row, but they're not like the lengthy 4-3s, right? We're not going 22, 25 minutes. This is like, we're going to like 2-0, 2-0, 1-1, go into this last fight 3-3, and just whoever happens to win wins.
I mean, it's a bloody affair. It is definitely a passionate game. Not a lot of crazy strategies being employed, just raw Paladins, and that's what I love to see. Game 4 coming up soon as we head back to the desk.
Thank you, guys. And Nick, your order of 4-3s is here. I'm delivering it.
We're all
exactly
feasting today.
We're all feasting on the 4-3s, and this one, every game that goes by, it looks like it could go to 7 in this case. Not really. I mean, I don't think you might disagree, but I don't think in any of these this has been like a pick or a ban loss for
Absolutely
either of these. Literally, it's small moments, each on a knife edge, that comes down to these final fights. It looked like Virtus.Pro were about to win it at the end. It looked like SSG were about to win it. They do come out on top. 22 kills for Fasheko, though. 14 there for Hekate. But lots of double-digit kills up top for Spacestation.
Lots of double-digit deaths for Virtus.Pro as well here. 11, 15, 13, 13, 17 for Fasheko. So
Bloodbath.
He kill and he also dies there, and only one more bomb separated him from 200,000 damage. A big number. Not a lot of people reach in these Premier League games. They have to go a little bit longer to even start thinking about that conversation. First real ruckus that we're seeing in a long time. Bright Marsh contesting this high ground specifically is a big thing that Ruckus loves to do. Sadak is so good at him, those dives. That's really all it is. It's not that hard to just get in there, hit your shots, hit your rockets, do that stuff. But how you attack, what angle you're coming from. Do you take the high ground? Can I dive this? Can I get this kill? Can I commit here? What's my situation? That's all the stuff that comes with the years and years of playing Ruckus, and that's what Sadak has.
Well, it all works out in their favor this time, but kind of looking back on it, and we sort of had the discussion. You can't really throw Ruckus in that tank conversation, but for the sake of conversation, you have a tank and 2 sort of hybrid frontliners. What are your thoughts? Obviously, it worked out well for them in this case. What are your thoughts on sort of that triple hybrid frontline type comp.
Well, Khan's got Storm of Bullets, so he
Right.
can put out a ton of damage. Brings a lot of utility, brings overpower, and I'll get to that in a second. I think that's pretty much what saved the game. That ultimate is nuts. You have Ruckus, who's really just pretty hard damage. He doesn't bring any type of utility. He brings a little bit of self-sustain, but other than that, it's damage, and his ultimate just gives you more damage. That's all it is. That's why it's hard to converse with
like he
about
does some
him
damage.
as a point front line there. There's this moment, though, with this Torvald BK. Fasheko, he comes ripping in at a King Bomb deep into the backline of SSG. Poppy Bombs even further that backline. I'm like, well, they're all going to kill him, right? Right? And he's like, he's staying alive and gets out. That's why that point fight's even close there, because this SSG zone collapses theatrically to the point where he's just penetrated so far behind enemy lines. You're like, we have no choice but to deal with this guy right now. And if they didn't have overpower from Ares' Khan, I don't know that they would have been able to come back at all, because this guy's getting pocket bubbled. He's doing a ton of damage. He's a big problem for them, and nobody really feels comfortable taking that duel with the pocketed Torvald Bomb King. So they just get rid of him. It doesn't always have to be a frontliner. Get rid of your biggest threat with the overpower, and that's what they did.
Well, yeah, 22 kills. Yeah. So, I mean, you have to get rid of the guy who's doing it. We talk about those small moments and how they make a difference in these really close matchups. That's definitely one, I think, in this case, that made a difference in game number 3. But looking at game 4, we have Frog Isle on the burner for us here. And for the sake of symmetry, I mean, it goes yellow 4-3, orange 4-3, yellow 4-3. So now Virtus.Pro are going to take it 4-3 in this case, just to keep that map screen nice and pleasant to the eye. The Strix, though, gets banned out. And this is kind of interesting, a map where, I guess specifically Frog Isle, snipers sometimes make their way into those ban pools.
Yeah.
And in a meta at the moment where a Atlas or a Mani ban opens up so many things, having bans that aren't even in any of that frontline conversation could further make things interesting. So the Torvald Makoa, pretty traditional. Atlas, Amani.
A lot of stuff open right now.
Ashe, Anara. I mean, there's lots of things that traditionally would be gone that are still around.
So we talked about, like, when Atlas and Amani came in, injecting 2 characters that are ban-worthy. What does that do to the draft? Because now we've got 2 other ban-worthy characters making it through. Imagine if we injected 2 more ban-worthy characters, and now, not to say this happens every time, but we will get to see what this draft looks like with a Kinessa and a Strix banned out. Sniper is so important. Kinessa specifically to Hecate of VP. They ban the Strix. They have first pick, SSG. We're put in that corner, so to speak, to say, like, we got to either, like, they're probably going to take this one. We need to take it super early. There's just pressure put on it. There's a conversation started by what VP chose to ban.
Does Leon take a bump up now in your eyes with Khan and Strix off the board? Excuse me, Kinessa and Strix off the board?
Leon, I think she's still in that role, but I think Amani has basically filled the role of what Cassie and Leon were doing with way more utility and a better ultimate.
Sure.
Just a better team fight overall with similar auto attack pressure.
Well, SSG have at least played her a little bit today, or banned her out. They showed a little bit of hesitation to sort of jump onto the Amani train last week. Maybe a little bit more persuasive is Kresnik this week. We'll see if it comes out. Both teams really taking their time to think this one over. Evie, definitely not a shocking pick to have come out here onto Frog Isle.
In this game, you
and
win
Leon
or you
as
die.
well. So we talked about it. She does come through as 3rd pick here for Virtus.Pro, and they get the Evie as well. Now SSG, I mean, they have a wide and far range of things that they can go with here with the 2 damage dealers shown on the opposite side.
Ashe still open, Amani's still open. They've got their Genos, they've got their damage amp. They've got ways to work here for certain. Now, FRZ God, what will he play? His character has not been locked in just yet. Evie taking away from him, though. That starts the conversation of what else will and can he do. I think with that being started, Bomb King is not as popular here as Evie or Drogos would be, and I think Leon being the pick here to deter that Drogos a little bit away, and he'll probably go for the Amani this time.
It is going to be the Amani, and you get little Genos boost on her damage there. The Inara is going to round out the frontliners, or so we think. Over on Vert, unless they want to go 0 healer comp, it does. Damba's going to be their 5th pick over there for Virtus.Pro. SSG still have a blaster if that's the direction they want to go with this one to round out their draft. Maybe not Drogos, maybe wouldn't fit into this one as well. Wanting to make sure that they think long and hard about it. It is going to be the Drogos, so they're fine with taking that matchup.
Double projectile.
What are your thoughts on the Drogos here?
Well, Leon is going to be that natural predator, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. And things on paper aren't always put into practice, or maybe we might not even see like what we're talking about right now. But if you can see a world where that Leon gets dive or just pressured out, this goes for snipers, right? We'd be having the same conversation about a sniper as we would with Leon. If she's allowed to pressure out this Drogos, then he's not going to be able to do as much. But the second she dies, he almost has free reign of the skies. And we've even seen guys not go so far as to gamble that and play combustible on this map.
Very true.
And just slow it down.
It will be interesting to see which direction he chooses to go on this one. That's sort of the matchup maybe to keep your eye on. Is the Leon going to be able to deal with the Drogos? Is Drogos going to get the better of this one? But there's no snipers for once here unless you throw Leon into that mix as well. Virtus.Pro, they fall in the last one. Tough 4-3 for them in the last game. Hopefully looking to bounce back here because in a matchup that's so close with both teams taking one off one another, well, it's going to come down to whoever wins the last one and seemingly going that direction here. See if they can bounce back on Frog Isle. Let's send it down to the casters.
The mustachio of very, very evil intent. It seems like Rachel could play a super villain in the right setup here. Maybe if Paladins ever gets its own spin-off.
You know, if they weren't so nice, it'd be a lot easier to set them up that way.
That's right. He's just too kind here as we got the music raging from picks and bands, setting us up for Frog Isle introduction. Nice little mesh there as now the big ol' unstable Fisher comes through, giving us that temporal divide that we all hope for.
Separate the world and see if it gives you, well, an advantage, and I guess right now it does. We've been talking about it all set, how they haven't been picking the Amani.
Yeah.
Now I think we figured out maybe they were just holding on to it, coming through.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe, you know, at this point, maybe they really just felt comfortable with this lineup, you know, for Ares to get the Amani. We were wondering who's going to be the one, right? Is it Freeze? Is it FRZ God? Is it going to be Ares? Seems like it's going to be Ares here. He does a good job starting things off. We talked about the Drogos as well, something that's a little bit of a risk, but we've seen Alex do it in many games for NIP with Combustible and be very, very successful in putting people under pressure. In fact, famously sending Rock Monkey off with one of those first tumbles on the games against Envy, and really just saying, wow, this is not a joke. This is a very, very good pick here. Freeze
in an awkward position. A nice rocket connect on to Fasheko. Going to make sure that that stalls out a little bit. This 90-72. That's a good kill on Napule. And now that they haven't lost anybody, they've been able to regroup. They should be able to come back, try to take control of this objective.
And the 977 on the Rockets as well. Talking about having Genos. I mean, that's another aspect because there isn't that lethality in general. It's a little bit of a harder matchup for the EV to win outright, although this is Fasheko EV, and so he's going to take down FRZ God himself. But you got the through time and space. He doesn't have any big burst healing right now, though, so the time is of the essence, and unfortunately, Ares is just a day late and a dollar short with that dragon. It will go the way of VP to start.
Well, I did not think about this, but Leon has the opportunity to take out 2 dragons from the sky this game.
That's true.
Burned down the ult from Amani there. And admittedly, is probably going to be the biggest bane of Freeze God's existence. If it comes through right here, you're going to see the connect go the other way around. But admittedly, got pretty close at the very end there.
Yeah.
Almost got the kill.
He maybe just used that a tad early because although he does get the kill on the Ares, he might have been able to do a great trade on the FRZ God. And Ares seemed like he was already out of the fight with how low of health he was. The challenge a little bit of preset, but still Dosage takes him down. Good play from the front line. The OG man there, and Akate on the Leon starting to get warm, and that's scary. That is scary indeed. With 3 out of the 4 still going to the front line.
I mean, this has been the return to hit scheme. This is admittedly not what I wanted. I wanted to see a Ganessa, I wanted to see a Strix.
You did.
But they got banned away because SSG and I think VP both recognize that, well, they're just too good for a couple of players in this game to get.
Nice.
But still, Leon, it's a hometown comfort for Hagate. And
Mama's
the longer
cooking.
this game goes, the better it is.
Yeah, you're right, man. It really is. And that's the best way to describe it. And I think that's a great way to relate it to players who maybe, or viewers who watch but don't necessarily play. When you have these champions that are just those hometown favorites, it's like going home after being in college or being on the, you get back, you're like, I want my bed, I want my food, I want, my rhythm. And that is something that Akate has established so well on Leon. Should be a very good pick whenever you can get it.
It's like even now you go home, You go home for Christmas, and it's like, man, this is the exact same layout this house was when I left.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I need. I know what I'm getting into.
Yep.
And that is where this is. Enlightenment on the ready. So if you see someone get low, say like a drum goes in Fisheko. Come on. You know, that's exactly what Hekate is saying because you can see it on his face. He threw it out. The kill happened either way. They get the 2-0. Virtus.Pro.
That's big.
I want to say the draft tends to lean their way, and I think that's part of the reason that they're having such a good performance right now. But they also just played that fight very well at the beginning.
I mean, what a phenomenal sequence. What a phenomenal sequence from him. I mean, the difficulty, the degree of difficulty of those shots, it's so memorable. It's why we keep thinking of him as such a great Eevee. And, you know, there are some people who just, they do things normally. Maybe it's not even efficient, but when they do it, it's just like, oh my God, how did you pull that off? And a couple of those shots, I mean, we'll see how FRZ got adjust, knowing that Fishy a little bit more deadly with the Eevee than he probably would have expected of this matchup.
I feel like, if I remember correctly, we used to call him Babyface Killer. For Fisheko.
Yeah, I think so.
And after watching that one shot, that one player game, so now like Chipmunk Jinx Fisheko comes through and is keeping everything fresh for the team.
Joel's is the original babyface killer. But,
that's the truth.
I do think Fisheko could fit that pretty nicely. A really nice zone with the Dragon Punch and the Overpower as well. Atlas does not have the rewind available, so he will not be able to get a second chance. Vex gets thrown off the map, and no Slither travels that far, at least in this batch. We'll see what happens in future patches for sure. 78% the Dragon's out. Looks like this one could be SSG, barring any catastrophic failures.
I mean, especially with that Dragon kill right there, Ares being able to put his name on the board in a big fashion, kills off Atlas early on. And Atlas, again, very much like, I want to say Barrack, but not to the same extent, can kind of keep himself going on the objective, can stand around, re-heal, dance around a little longer than you expect out of him, and not quite keep up with the Inara, who I think he was hoping to buy some time for, but unfortunately that Dragon. And then the follow-up pushing aggression from SSG really just locked them down to the point where if you leave your base, you're in trouble.
Couple of shots from the Chrono Cannon. Lily doing a great job. There's the second chance. Gonna get all his health back. And he's gonna break the shield. Sadak pops it right back off. Now here's the battle shot as well. Great min max. FRZ God finds Puleole. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, indeed. I think they thought they had that one, but Sadak just kind of baits them all out. The Astro Mark not enough for Midtown to save FRZ God, so they are going to basically see if they can stabilize, but it looks like it could be tough, but they do. Oh my, they somehow do.
This is that fun moment where you get to look at the fact that Freeze God does not care that you're playing Leon. He does not care that you have a counter to his Drogos. He's still going to find the effort. And on the other side, Hekate's aim is so good that it's almost the exact hard counter. So seeing these two forces come against each other it's just such an interesting dynamic because there's still moments where Freeze God's getting away with things that admittedly he just shouldn't.
Yeah, and all big shots. I mean, 1,300 damage that probably shouldn't have been there. The double kill! Oh, from the splitting ice. Splitting Virtus.Pro into SSG. Have a chance here. Frostbomb just to seal the deal. And he's going to go into the Frostfire Glide. SSG 2-2. All squared away yet again.
Well, wouldn't you guess it? Now someone's going to get a point cap. It's going to defend. We're going to go 3-3. But it's okay because we all like Frog Isle, so we're all okay being here a little longer. Overall, though, it's moments where double kills come through in this moment where they just shouldn't, right? These couple of kills, he should be locked down a little harder. It's getting the kills onto Hekate as the Drogos that I think is part of the reason that, you know, this guy's put his name on this list of best blasters in the world. He doesn't care when the matchup literally it's the hardest counter you could have.
Should favor.
And you're still coming through, being able to find it. Has the Cauterize 3, has the Dragon Punch available. Now you see the bulldozers on the other side, so they can deal with some of these ults.
There's no Cauterize 3 on the side of Virtus.Pro. SSG, I think all have gotten Cauterize 3. That is a big deal. At 90% is an exponential kind of growth, even though it only advances by 30% consistently. That 90% really makes a big difference. Takes your heals down 1,000 base, essentially, if you're looking at it that way, from 100 to what the 400 would have been, with only 6% taking it off. So it's 3 times stronger there. And really, really shutting down your sustain. But if Sheko just says, let me shut down the guy who's been killing a lot of us, that's no problem for me. Gets another trade on FRZ God. Both teams squaring up.
Sadak waiting for a good moment, a good target, maybe Dosups to be able to overpower off the map, but he has to be able to find it. I actually believe I heard the call to Your Mind. Has been able to get a grab. It did get taken all the way down. They do get a kill.
I think he
So
got.
they're just setting themselves up.
I mean, I think he got Pacheco. I don't know who else. It didn't really look like he threw someone off the map. I think they just got an easy kill, probably pulled him towards him. And now Ares and the rest of SSG are zoning so well. Dosev's just standing in front of the splitting ice, but Vex is in trouble. And I would push this. I know they don't want to. He's waiting for the cooldowns. The Slither gets him away, but you get that support out of the fight, it's almost done.
Almost enough on that wall from the Atlas to kind of keep things going. Tries to eat it to the face, but Hecate calls your bluff. Trades his life for it, but honestly, that might make the big difference. Losing that much damage in this fight, now you have Pacheco back in the engagement. They could swing this around.
And they need something big here. They need an ultimate. They need a couple of kills. Richao finds Puleule. Is that enough? Pacheco trying to kill Mitao for the second time, but it doesn't work for the second time. And it looks like SSG are potentially still able to stabilize, but there's still a lot of pressure Virtus.Pro have.
Doing whatever they can. Sadak incredibly low, but there's too many targets dancing around, and they're going to be able to get the kills. Trying to shield everything when your shield only faces forward. Not enough. Ice Storm back available. Going to get dropped immediately, and now the point fight's coming down. The front line's understanding. It's Dosups.
And through time and space cannot find the kills for Mitao. Virtus.Pro battle back. And although they cannot quite get the Ascended, he's going to make it out. Oh, never mind, as Hecate cleans him up with an imminent shot there. They can grab the point and the lead. 3-2 now, 2 minutes in order to finish this one.
You know, it's a scramble, but SSG, I have to dub all that down to the fact that Ares bit off more than he can chew. I think if he stays alive, if you kill Hecate there, which happened just after he killed off Ares, but Ares is still alive, still available, all of a sudden Eevee has a lot more trouble getting back into this fight with the splitting ice. Makes it very easy to confirm on damage on her. You don't have the same impact from the Atlas, from the Amani, or the Inara, I mean. And so I think it literally comes down to the one champion.
I think, you know, Gore, that's a true moment. But I think the moment I was thinking about more was the fact that, wow, isn't that kind of a funny thing to see from that angle? But, man, you know, that he had Vex one shot and really didn't push. And this was one of those things where you say, he's thinking about, should I push because the team may think it's the bad decision? Should we just hold here? What's the best for the group? But at that moment, you have to say, I've got the support, one shot, I'm going to dive this. I have my movement skill as well. I'm at least going to walk forward. I can always try to fire glide away. And then Vex stays alive that entire fight. I mean, trade your life for their support. That's a better trade for your team because they have no sustain and you still have a DPS.
Overall, that double chunk damage you get from the ice shot, you hear the clunk. Like every now and then it comes through, and it just feels it's audibly good. But now it's coming through. It's nice frost bomb. But I mean, Virtus.Pro are looking to walk this one in. That kill on the Puleule is definitely going to stall things out, especially with how much damage on the Dosups. But it's not a safe space for Spacestation here. They are going to be kind of pushed back, held up in their base. They finally get some aggression, but you lose one fight, you might lose it all.
Yeah, it does look like it's going to be very hard to push. I mean, SSG kind of setting camp on the front lawn of Virtus.Pro here. I don't know. I think this could definitely be another 4-3, and if the day is any indicator, it probably should be. Sadak here only on the left side, and a really good combustible fire spit that hits too. Puleule is going to drop. And 748, a shot from a Luminary and Monty. That is a scary, scary thing to go against.
Hekate's doing a ton of damage, but it's not enough to get them back onto the payload. I had to look up just to make sure no one slipped by without me noticing, specifically an Eevee, who we have seen several times backdoor. Just a split. And so always pay attention
Wouldn't that be a way
to that
end
little
the game?
diamond where it just ends, and all of a sudden you're like, what?
Wait.
But it's not going to happen here. Of course, it is. Well, unfortunately, it is exactly what I predicted. 3-3 through and through.
Dr. Gore's scientific experiments are correct again.
All you have to do is
look at
watch,
look at what's happened in the past,
and then take a guess.
Take a guess.
Hope your guess is
educated
right.
guess.
And
Love
then
it.
when it's not,
that's hypothesis.
That's okay.
Educated guess. That's really what it is.
4,
Ares.
3, 2.
He's got blast shields too.
1.
Cauterized 3 is now evened out, except Hecate actually opts for the Wrecker 3, the Bulldozer 2, and a little resilience instead of saving up for that Tier 3, which costs 900 credits. Pacheco feels the same way. Puleule doesn't even have Cauterized. So really, Dosups the only one able to apply Cauterized 3. Again, what an interesting item choice here from Virtus.Pro. I wonder if this is going to pay off.
I mean, so far it's been working out pretty well. Not for this engagement, but for keeping them slightly ahead. Ule bites off maybe a little more than he can chew. They trade out frontline for frontline right here. There's no follow-up kill, so it's going to be even.
Oh, I think that was a mistake. Mittal tries to go for the Eevee of all champions. She's got the blink. She just used the Soar, of course, but has the ice block as well. Just misreads that one, but here's the Dragon. Can this turn it around? Ares hiding behind cover. They do have bulldozers, and that's, whoa, 1,700, 2 shots. The Dragon is down.
Ouch.
Is that it?
The best way to describe it.
Oh, wow.
They put their money on the Dragon, and the Dragon did not pay off. They were at 20. They're like, you know what? We're pretty close.
Consider me...
the guy next to him at 21.
Consider me surprised. And also... I think Virtus.Pro and their item choice is vindicated because that bulldozer certainly made an impact. Fasheko 2-shot in that thing. I mean, that's much more valuable there than doing a 90% anti.
And that was doing the, I'm going to hide behind cover. Like, I'm going to do the best to hide this massive dragon that I can. Took a couple of shots getting behind that rock, but... I mean, at the end of the day, once it showed his face, it was 2 shots.
I think the through time in space really was what hurt them because you kind of
Too
everything
early.
stops for a second when that happens. It's kind of like somebody takes a big shot, you kind of all look, see what happens, and then you go back to doing what you're doing, which is either defense or offense or whatever. And I think that moment really was a gamble onto somebody that it wasn't safe. I'd rather him save it. I'd rather him use it when the Dragon's being used. Mittal's played excellently today, so it's hard to critique him.
Yeah.
But I definitely saw since we captured that moment, maybe sent them in a rough spot. It's now looking like Virtus.Pro back in the ability to keep this a set. So let's send it back to the desk and get ready for our next game.
Well, we're tied up at 2. We're down to a best of 3 at this point. I have to say, Nick, I'm, for one, a little peeved because Evan gave so much credit to Gore for looking into his crystal ball and predicting a 4-3 there. Gore truly is the predictor of us all. But I clearly said coming out of the map screen that it's going to be a 4-3 and it's going to be in favor of Virtus.Pro. Sure, my reasoning was off. I said so the map screen would retain some symmetry.
Yeah.
You know, it's orange, yellow, and then 4-3 alternating. So that was my reasoning.
Everyone's
but I
got
said
their
it
reasons.
first. And that's,
You did.
That's all I have to say. I'm going to move on past
Refer to
that
the
matter.
VOD. Check
Refer to the
VODs,
VOD. There you go. But let's look back at Frog Isle and this one. Were there any champions, maybe one side or the other, that stood out to you? We'll get a look at the slash lines here. Nobody really looking bad, at least in my eyes.
I think that's a lot of deaths for Pulauli. 7 and 16.
Yeah, that's true.
Only a couple of only one other. Sadok's the only other one, and that he got that 10th death at the last second there. So a little bit of a struggle, and given that, it's a little interesting that this game was quite so close, despite clearly a lot of one-sided fights for Spacestation.
And I mean, you look at that slash line without any knowledge of the game that just happened, you immediately assume that Spacestation had won. It seemed like they were able to come out on top of a lot of the fights KDA-wise.
Yeah.
But winning those smaller moments that we keep talking about were Virtus.Pro in this case. So they tie up the series 2-2. Hecate gets back onto one of his more favored champions, 111,000 damage and a 2.4 KDA to boot. He looked really great on the Leon, and that was sort of one of the places that we were looking. We say, all right, can the Leon match up with the Drogos as well as we're thinking he can? Do you think he dealt with the Drogos? Obviously they won, but
yeah.
Looking at the Leon-Drogos matchup, do you think he
Definitely kept a lid on it.
Yeah.
Definitely kept a lid on it. Fasheko, I think, is obviously, my opinion, is best in the world Eevee, and I think that's another reason why that Drogos is under a lot of pressure, right?
Sure.
He's not afraid to take that matchup because he can hit those midair shots. He can hit the the blink, little 90-degree turn midair stuff. And that's all, well and good, but when you throw the Leon pressure on top of that, then those little one connections turn into kills if an Eevee is getting into the back line there. A couple of questionable moments down the stretch. I think through the times and spaces, definitely that was one thing to go back and maybe look at. A couple of risks taken, not panning out, and that's what makes the difference in a set that's this close. If everything's a 4-3, if everything's coming down to that 3-3 point ladder, a 3-3 defense or offense, something like that, and those little mistakes or those little moments, little choices not shaking out your way, that's going to tip the scales and throw the game one way or another.
And I had talked to Kresnik on his way back to the coach's booth, and one thing that he kind of said as a joke that was kind of funny, but something I hadn't really thought about, Virtus.Pro has been in a lot of 4-3s up to this point this season, and he said that he was talking to Spuds, and he was like, that was honestly like one of the first 4 threes that we've actually come on top of and won. And now they've done it twice in this set. So, I mean, if we want to look at little moments in these games, like little victories are important to us too. And on the Virtus.Pro side, you've had such bad luck with 4 threes going into this, finally just getting a couple wins and hanging with one of the better teams in our league. I mean, make no mistake, these are 2 of the better teams in this league. They're showing why they both belong up there. It's gonna honestly be on a knife edge all day. They've shown that.
I mean, it's cool to watch those 4 threes in a set like this because it goes to show that that amount of pressure affects these guys.
Yeah.
It weighs on them. Look at Brightmar specifically. The cleanliness in which that first fight was won, and then Spacestation kind of move out to zone, and just like the catastrophic collapse of that zone, and the magnitude of the flip-flop to where then Virtus.Pro are going too deep, too ham, and then it flips again. Like those types of massive flips, they don't really happen when one team is just like convincingly, they don't happen on the 2-0 push or the 2-1 or the 3-1. It's like those situations where it's deciding the game. That's when nerves start to get a little bit high. You maybe want to get a little bit risky. Things aren't paying off, that type of stuff.
There's the 7th. Here's the payoff. You want to talk about a great PPL set. The orange and yellow alternating 4 threes is easily one of the more satisfying map screens that I've...
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That's the good stuff.
And we get Fish Market. We get Fish Market, which... I mean, I'm not going to necessarily compare it to Frog Isle. They're definitely different maps, but some of the same champions tend to come out.
Fish Market's pretty unique. There's not a lot out there that's really mirrored or like it's. I was just kind of showing you. Bird had a bunch of really old Paladins. I'm talking wicked old Paladins clips on his phone.
Like Melee Grover.
Yeah, Melee Grover. Oh, God bless. What a sweet time to be alive that was. And like I was saying, we were looking up at the minimap, and it was that old. I don't even know if it had a name, but it was the Frozen Guard point fight, the Ice Mines point fight, and then the Glacial Keep point fight, like all stitched together into this massive abomination of a map. Like, and this was one of those. Like, it was Fish Market stitched together with the Timber Mill point fight, stitched together with, honestly, like, the Fish Market, and then like the end of Fish Market, if that makes sense. Like picture picture that bowl, with the tree boxes looking over it. That was another one of the point fights, and then it was like, man, it was just a really funky map. And they kind of got like cut into thirds and made into other maps. That's how we got Frozen Guard and Ice Mines. And Fish Market is kind of like just a third of this very old map that was sort of redesigned a little bit, tuned up to function as a soul map. That's why there's nothing else really like it, because it's a piece of a whole of a times past, and that's been story time.
I mean, some teams just hate going to Fish Market. I mean, what are your what is there reasoning behind that? Is it just it's an annoying map to play on?
I think it's because the zone is if you're getting zoned on Fish Market, it can be aggravating, frustrating. Right. There's not a lot of spots to fight in between where the point is captured and where the point is or where the payload is converted, I guess I should say. When you look at some of these other maps, you have a couple of like places that you look to hold and you like to hold, and it's not like you lose the point fight and then you almost are falling back to your spawn almost.
True.
Like a lot of times, like I think of like a Warder's Gate. There's like a couple of good spots, choke points you want to hold. There's not a lot of great natural chokes on Fish Market, and it can lend itself definitely some frustrating moments.
True. Well, maybe sniffing out a little something here are Virtus.Pro. The Makoa doesn't really raise any eyebrows, but the Maeve getting banned out on their side. I mean, we've definitely seen her on Fish Market, whatever small sample size that may be. Maybe realizing that SSG might have gone that route if she were still available. Instead, Genos' highest priority, Atlas' highest priority, as well as the Khan. That's a strong 1-2 stack there for Virtus.Pro. They get both of the highest priority aggressive frontliners in this case, and they've got the makes of a good draft going already.
I will say Maeve is Midnight's really good, I think, on Fish Market, because there's so many just big lines of sight and shutting down that type of stuff. That's an ultimate that could potentially, circumvent the intense zoning that happens on Fish Market.
Right.
If you can pop that, you might be able to get your team out of spawn. Ares has shown a propensity to play this, although at times he's been called out by the replay guy of zoning at the wrong base. It's very funny. We've had a lot of those moments where it's like one team's pushing, but it's pushed all the way back and getting spawn camped. So And also on Fish Market, like there's a lot of rotating that goes on.
There is, yeah.
It's almost like Shattered Desert-esque, where you don't really just ball up in 2 spots like on a stone keep. Everyone attacks up in the high, or on Serpent Beach, everybody fights each other behind the waterfall. Like you're really kind of like doing this do-si-do or this merry-go-round thing and looking for picks and late rotates that way.
I like the Amani on this map. I'm trying to think. I don't think we've seen her yet on Fish Market. Definitely not today. I don't think we went to Fish Market at all last week when the two were available. I could be wrong on that, but at least fresh is still the way to look at it, this pick on Fish Market. We'll have to see how the Dragon does in this case. You get the Damba as well.
The Dragon's definitely going to struggle out in the open of Fish Market. But
You're right.
Right now, SSG, they don't have a lot of stuff to shoot it with. I mean, Barrack's going to be decently reliable and available to go in a Bulldozer, but
we saw... I don't know what she would have had at that point, but Eevee was hitting 1,700 damage shots on the Dragon last game. So for what it's worth, if you're willing to invest into Bulldozer 3, you can do a lot of damage to it. The Shaolin's going to supplement that as well as the Ruckus. So pretty good lineup there for SSG. Virtus.Pro.
That'll kill a Dragon.
That will kill a Dragon. Those are three champions.
Shaolin is as good or stronger than Kyber and Scorpions.
I would say as good, if not better in this case. Those Scorpions, they're bigger versions, I think, of the previous ones that we had seen. We won't dive into that because we'll get spoiler yelled at, I'm sure. Going deep into their bank time here are Virtus.Pro.
Choose your words.
Going to end up being a Tyra on the opposite side, maybe to counteract a little bit of that Genos boosting. How are you feeling about the lineups here?
Well, as far as the Tyra goes, I don't feel like there's anyone really to dive in on who Tyra is marked. So I really feel like this VP squad is going to look to try and stay together.
Yeah.
Play a decent amount around this con and make him, or allow him to make space, and they'll sort of move and work together with the Tyra marks. Almost think about how like NIP use it on Jaguar Falls, where it's usually like doing its best to keep up with like a Pip and an Ash or a Pip and a Con, just huffing and puffing, keeping their stuff marked. I think that's a little bit of what we'll see here with VP because they don't have a lot of mobility.
I'm really excited to see another strong 3-stack, Atlas, Con, Imani. I mean, we talk about the Tyra. Can't forget about the other 3. Those are 3 of the stronger picks right now at the moment, so it's going to be fun to see how they're kind of able to blend that all together. SSG, I mean, we talked to Kresnik. I think at this point they've probably figured out more how to play around the Imani, what they're feeling about it. It's going to be fun to see how things panned out. We're down to a best of 3 here in our second set on this fine Thursday afternoon. SSG and VP, they're going toe-to-toe. Send it down to the casters to get it started.
Fish Market, where teams go to lose, yet to be proven wrong about that one. Talking with NIP, they say 4-1 for VP in this one. It's been 4-3 all day. Gore, do you think this is the set, or at least the game in this set, that will change that?
I'm going to say you have to believe very heavily in the Genos Eevee to give up Atlas Con at the beginning. NIP last week showed us what Atlas and Con can do together, and I think we're probably going to see a lot of that from this lineup. I think this is pretty much a comfort home for Virtus.Pro. But for Sheko, his first time on Imani today. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Got to tell you, though, that mount and this skin seems like they were made for each other. And that mount was made well before this skin or this character. So pretty awesome synergy there, or Skinergy as we'd like to say. Kate gets taken down by Ares. And yeah, in principle, sure, but if you're hitting your shots on Shaolin, not a lot of damage dealers that can go toe-to-toe with you.
And here's going to be my argument for why that shouldn't have happened. Why is Hecate peeking? He got hit by 3 shots in a row. Why did he peek the 4th time? Like, that's one of those moments where you say, you know what? I shouldn't take this fight. I should go a different route. I should at least force him to aim somewhere else. I don't think Ares had to lower his bow.
Well, this is where, you know, when you say, do you believe in the Eevee and the Genos enough? Spacestation Gaming say, yeah. I mean, if FRZ God gets to play the Eevee, that's for sure. Because I think that they have to have faith in this. What has made SSG that kind of top-tier talent? It's this team, sure, but it's FRZ God's elevated play in a damage role that has put him in the class of some of the best damage-dealing performances we've seen in Paladins. So if they don't rely on him to perform, to carry, to have these games, they've changed their whole identity of their team. Let's be honest. He's not a role player. He's the star player. And so giving him a position to succeed on a map where mobility is heavily viable and Ares on just consistent damage from the Shaolin, I mean, you know, they got to go up against some tough characters, but it could work.
It's going to be difficult as of right now. It seems like SSG are getting kind of locked down, pushed back. Sadak in a boxing match with Pula really has a little bit of assist coming behind him from the Ares, but seems to be not really going either way. Both teams being able to heal up just enough to be able to stay alive. Now the aggression's going to come through, and that's going to reward at least one kill.
Oh, good stuff from Ares here. Oh, and FRZ got at him combined to find a few. Are you kidding me? Somebody take down the God of War. At this point, it's just unfair. There's so much pressure. And Rachel, meanwhile, tries to get a little bit of movement. Not sure how worth it that was. Maybe would have wanted to join the engagement over on the right side of the docks, but nevertheless, it's going to be Virtus.Pro, who now are still in a defensive position. Spacestation Gaming just barely stopping the pressure that has been mounting all game.
This is probably one of the...
Oh, good damage.
It's like, I'm gonna name it the weirdest push in Paladins, because it's not like the longest push. It's not one of the... It's just
one of the hardest
kind of ways to go against the grain, because you have multiple things going against it. First off, you have to walk next to a ledge where instantly, let's say if Ashe was in this game, she can knock you off. Anything that has a knockback can knock you off. So you have to be wary of things like that. And then you come around here, you have an uphill battle into a fishbowl battle that is just, it's just so many different kinds of maps kind of shoved into one. It takes a lot to get used to.
Certainly does. Sakate taking out Sadak, not what they wanted, Gord, and they did hit, this kind of pressure moment where they said, let's just go, let's dome shield, we've got 15 seconds left. It was very risky. And SSG are not going to find dividends from it. It's going to be a bad investment. 8 seconds left. Almost certainly this is going to be a defense here. And that is the nature of Fish Market. Spacestation Gaming kind of lose big, as they just have an Hexifier heading into the next round, and Virtus.Pro have all 5 ults.
And, I mean, this last point fight was very, very fast, easy, even in favor of SSG. You can see a minute and 46 on the clock. It was a 100-0 capture. I think Virtus.Pro got the touchdown for like a little bit at the beginning before they got either killed off or pushed out.
Yeah.
And so now coming into it with all 5 ults, I expect to see a complete flip. They should theoretically have the exact same performance SSG just had, except maybe even stronger.
Yeah.
Being able to stagger out some of their ults. They don't need to use them all at the beginning, but you can find a couple on the side, and theoretically with an Exile, you should be able to pick up some kills without using any of the other 4 ults.
I think you do need to worry about just a Dread Serpent interrupting Freeze God. The timing of that, something not a lot of supports may be able to, execute perfectly, but I would say Vex is one of those that is in that category, anticipating when the blink would happen, catching him mid-blink before he blinks back, or the ice block in anticipation of some type of counter. So still in the mount is FRZ God, and this is a very simple pull. He throws him down, cannot rocket boots away. Easy kill for Pule. Already things tilting in the favor of Virtus.Pro.
And that's the glory of being up on the catwalk, up on the balcony, is being able to throw him down at that angle. You can't dash back. But if you're on level ground, he'd have to walk over to make sure he got that angle. So being able to play at the beginning of this point so far, really well. 2 ults used, 3 ults used on the side of VP.
Oh, and now the Dragon. I love this. I love this call, because this is what I found the Dragon is so good at, just the zone, just being able to kind of say, all right, we've already kind of won the point. What was that? Dosa's with a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit of, I doubt BM. I don't think that's him, but maybe just making sure all of his bases were covered. Either way, ends up capturing the point for VP.
I'm unsure. If we get the post-game interview with Virtus.Pro, even if we don't, I'm going to try and figure it out, but it's entirely possible that's overtime's going to tick because Eevee touched. But if I cleanse it in a way, I step off the point, let it go a couple ticks without anyone on it, then step back on, you get to capture it, and admittedly it takes maybe a fraction less time than it takes.
Yeah, might have tried to min-max that. It did look like he was trying to do something very purposeful, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure he was attempting to do the most efficient movement there. Didn't want to just let them have another chance to capture. It was a little close. Really the Commander's grab away, and the Ice Storm will come out for FRZ God as Sadak finds a couple, and Vex says, you know what, it's probably over here. Let's reset, and SSG move on with an aggressive zone here.
This has been in the face of Virtus.Pro this entire time. Knockdown, a minute and 20. This is, you had said, a hard push. It's a very difficult push.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, a minute 20 with no one contesting you. That's plenty of time to be able to close this thing out. But the fact that you're fighting already, starting essentially right at the beginning, the payload literally cannot move any further back than it is right now,
Ooh.
it means you're stuck in this position that you have to win this fight, then you have to win another fight, then a third and a fourth to be able to find this in this next minute.
Oh, and good shots as well. Sheko finds 2. Great anticipation of what FRZ God wants to do. He had the Frost Bomb waiting for him, but got hit with the rewind as well, the setback, excuse me, and almost kind of overlapped some of the CC there. FRZ God, though, making very good use of just the normal autos from the Ice Snap, as Pulele will take down Ares, but not before Ares can get Sheko. 30 seconds left here. Slowly making their way as VP.
Kate, I want to say he's been getting picked on this game. It feels like every time I've seen him, he's just in an unfortunate spot.
Yeah.
He's been able to put his name on some kills, and Tyra's having an impact on him. But it's just, I feel like 90% of the time I see him more on the receiving end of the deaths. Now, though, it is going to be coming through for Sheko, Vex, everyone putting their name on the kill feed. And even though it is going to go into overtime, and it's going to be very difficult to close out in overtime, Virtus.Pro have the payload.
I'll tell you what's so hard about this Tyra. What's so good about this Tyra is that how hard it's making this Khan and this Atlas hit onto those marked up targets. Pulele with a very aggressive overpower, but he's going to find the kill. That one goes to Vex, and unlike Spacestation Gaming gambling ults, this one pays off. So we'll see if they can keep this. They've rounded the most important part, and there's the Dread Serpent, and he's adding crucial damage here. FRZ God's going to go down. I can almost certainly say that this is going to be a Virtus.Pro push. It feels like there's no way to stabilize at this point. Emitter's going to come through. Mid-Tow will find Akate, but a stun should secure Sadak and make it a 3-1 for VP.
And I think the important call
My God, it's almost 4-1.
is when that Dread Serpent comes through from Vex, there's 2 targets to shoot. There's an EV on one side, and right in front of her is a Baron. And if he just changes his mind, if he shoots Baron there, Maldamba damage is negligible on a front line. It's not going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
On an 1800 health Eevee, he does 3 shots, and 3 shots gets her to 1 shot for somebody else.
Oh,
it
yeah.
makes it a lot cleaner for him to be able to set that up. So Vex, not only having like just good priorities in the moment, but making those calls like, I can hit 2 with a Dread Serpent, we can melt one, melt the other, and then what are they going to do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to look at it. A lot of times, Genos will be just slightly ahead of Damba on the damage charts. I mean, again, he could just do things, do damage without healing, and Genos can just, you know, take advantage of that matchup, that little benefit. But Vex keeping up with it. You know, it's nice to see those valuable contributions from a support. We've seen so much of it today, more so than usual. So shout-outs to the spectating crew, and also just to the ability to give our support some love here as the 100 mark goes on to the side of Ares. But a 2-man rotation here is going to put them under a lot of trouble.
Well, trying to do whatever they can here. Ares missed a couple of shots, hit a couple of shots. Now he's locked in this position. 400 health to his name, and that's not going to be enough to make him feel confident. Sheko jumps down, gets the kill. Now the healings will be coming through. A beautiful gourd on the side, keeps Akate fresh, and that's going to be 42% for Virtus.Pro.
Nobody wants to step on the point. This might be a good time for a Dragon, but he doesn't have the angles yet. And this is where you need to be a little sneaky if you're SSG. Rachao's going to back off, but he's above that 30% threshold. Look who's behind. I think it's Eevee. I think she's trying to do something here. No, it's Sadak, another Hexafire, and he's created a lot of pressure, but he gets beat up mid-air. Dosips has damage right back for him, and here's the Dragon as well. Ice block for FRZ God. He will fall thanks to Vex, but Rachao's the Dome Shield on point.
Dosips getting taken out will make a big difference, though, but is it going to be big enough? There's the overpower coming up, and there it's going to get shot. It connects, and now I expect to see a toss.
And it most likely will be, and it is Rachao. Pulele sends him to his demise. A nice Frost Bomb as well should surely clean up Sadak. And oh my goodness, will this be the 4-1 that was predicted in the green room? It certainly looks like it.
Well, if NIP do this, I guess we get to pull them in here for the next couple of games.
Yeah, I guess he's
because
been
they
maxing.
understand this. I mean, that is the 4-1 they called for.
Well, I guess we gotta give credit to
Time
the
to retire.
time to retire. Give it over to Bonker. Let him carry on the legacy here. But Virtus.Pro, they grab Game 5, 4-1 as predicted. And it is SSG now who are set point from losing, unfortunately. Virtus.Pro can clean it up with one more game. Let's send it back to the desk, break it down, as the set could be ending at Game 6.
The cycle is officially broken. The 4-3s come to an end, and Virtus.Pro, they win 2 straight. So 2 firsts for this set here in game number 5. We're headed to game number 6. Virtus.Pro just need one more win to close out our second set of the day. you think they do it? Do you think they win 3 straight here, Nick?
I
Depends.
don't know.
Although that was SSG's pick, right? They picked Fish
I
Market.
believe so.
Virtus.Pro win it
Yep.
in a big way, 4-1. So it's SSG's pick yet again to dictate what direction we go, but they look good.
The later you get into these sets, that's when I think the confidence
true.
starts to fade map to
That's
map.
true.
But, you know, we're simple men up here. We see Khan, Atlas, Amani, and we vote for that.
That's true.
We take those.
You know who's feeling good right now? I don't want to call it before it's done. Evan, the one talent member who gave Virtus.Pro the thumbs up here in our predictions. To be fair, I think we were all probably pretty close. We just have to put down a name to really know which way it was going to go. But Virtus.Pro, if you were able to go back now and vote, of course you'd vote on the team that's looking stronger, and that's them here today. Fasheko showed us what he can do on the Imani on this map. I touched on it, so I'm going to be interested to see how Imani looks and feels on this map. Of course, it's Fasheko. How'd you feel about the champion here?
Very good, and I think a lot of the set has been determined on Fasheko Freeze God duels. You know what I mean? Right. And a lot of times, and part of this comes of being the best EV in the world, reading how far the blinks are, right?
Yeah.
I think there was probably 2 or 3 replays in there where you just start to hear the sound cue, or you see that EV disappear, and he knows exactly how far to karate chop back. That was the coolest camera switch ever. Tyler's a god. But he karate chops it, and then he comes right on back. He knows exactly like how far like these blinks go, and he's dialed in to the point where it looks like it's muscle memory at this point.
Yeah, and big difference maker in this one. Freeze God, I mean, he's looked great up to this point, but unfortunately in this one it's going to be Fasheko getting the better end of that duel. And it's a lot of players still just kind of figuring out a lot of these matchups. Of course, they play it, they scrim it a lot, that they know sort of how they go, but we're talking like muscle memory after months and months and months of work and all that. Unfortunately, as I said, the cycle's broken. Double orange here on the map, Serpent Beach for map number 6. It's an interesting 6 map.
Eevee's got to be one of the toughest matchups, I think.
Yeah.
Running that into Amani, let me clarify. I think Amani's very good against Eevee. You have the cripple. Massive fraud. It's possible to miss. If she blinks on you, she has to be aware that there's a likelihood that she's getting crippled out. You have to play around as the Eevee, knowing whether or not Frost Bomb is down. On top of that, Imani's very tanky. Her loadout doesn't really demand that she run anything other than glide speed, so she's taking a lot of health. A lot of guys doing the shield as well if you fall below an HP threshold. Meanwhile, your potential to be 3-shot by Imani. And just to make matters worse, if she's got a clear casting auto in there somewhere that you're not aware of, you're taking 2 real quick to the face, and you might not be able to react in time. So tough stuff for the Eevee for sure. You're slowing her when you hit. It's a lot of things that I'm just like, ugh, the matchup is just more gross.
It sounds worse all the time the more you
I'm gonna stop talking about it before I throw up.
Well, we were not going to have to worry about it this time because Imani is gone. Space Station just saying, you know what? I don't want to play against either of our new champions here, so they're going to get rid of Atlas and Imani in this case.
God.
And it's clear water now. You know what? There's a distinct line.
This is like halftime at Space Jam. They're running out of juice, dude.
I saw those green bottles getting a little empty.
That's it.
Right at the end of game number 3, where they found their second win in this set.
The G feels wearing off.
Now VP has won 2 straight.
They got to double down.
The water, though, the elixir of life, now in the bottles of SSG. Is that the difference maker?
I think so.
Remains to be seen. Con Eevee, gonna be 1 and 2 off the board here.
Somebody get Michael Jordan in here. Give these boys some water. Some MJ talent.
I feel like that movie probably made jobs for a lot of parents easier, convincing their kids to drink water. I remember thinking back, I was like, wow, that stuff looks and sounds incredible. Let me try some water once in a while. And it worked out. I grew big and strong.
There it is.
It's thanks to the water. Eevee Genos, though, here for Virtus.Pro. Looks like their lineup, their drafting, has been drinking some water because that's a pretty good 1-2 pick. Blue Sky Wizards, you're right.
Sky Wizard comp. That's what this is.
It's true.
Dub it. Stamp it in, lock it.
Has any team ever drafted purely based on color of the champions? We've seen it really close where like one team will have all blue champs down the side. Like imagine if you still had Torvald to throw in there. Atlas as well. There's your frontliners, your healer, your damage dealer. Who's a blue hit scan?
Another blue character.
I don't know.
Are we allowed to use skins in this scenario?
Sure. Toss it. No, we're going purely by the draft art.
Purely by card art?
I don't know who else.
Emoji's fairly blue.
There you go.
Or you
Emoji.
die.
There's your
no
five.
middle ground.
Blue crew.
The blue crew to say the least.
Well, this is the red versus blue.
Well,
right
honestly, we have orangey red versus blue on the opposite side. Who's going to break the mold? But on a serious note, Khan, Barrick, Leon, those are three really strong
What do you mean,
champions.
on a serious note? We've talked about G Fuel and color schemes. How much more
you're
real
right.
can you get?
I mean, if we're really getting down to the nitty-gritty of Paladins and
This
playing
is
at the
stuff you
highest
can't
level,
teach.
it's not even Skinnergy. It's just card art, colored G,
I mean,
whatever
if
you.
you're not dressed for success, and
You look good, you
VP,
play good.
Certainly. I mean, look at Spuds. He's setting the trend. He's setting the pace for this squad.
He's in blue. If we couldn't see this coming from a mile away, he's wearing blue. They have the blue lineup. They're definitely going to throw a wrench in the mix here. Talk to me about the Khan Barrack, though. Obviously, two of the higher priority frontliners.
I gotta say,
on a map like Serpent Beach, how do you like it?
Ash has been
This is
super
Ash,
low
actually, yeah.
priority. Yeah,
It
she's
is
been
like a
like
normal
barely
team,
seen
but
at
with
all in
me
this
in
set.
it.
That's something that I've been a little bit surprised by,
You
given
are
Sadak
not
and
welcome
Ule
here.
here. Double front lines locked in for VP. Not a lot of vertical mobility through that front line. They've got their Eevee to kind of chase stuff down. Zero vertical mobility on the side of SSG. That's a problem they'll probably look to solve in their next couple of picks.
Mikate, always a man. There we go. I haven't seen the. Oh, that is a triple dab, sir. We do not allow that around here. Too much. Too much coming in from Mikate. Feeling good, though. Always feeling good. Damba and Maeve. We saw Maeve banned out, but she's going to squeak her way through in this one.
Yep.
We've definitely watched her on Serpent Beach in the past, so not too surprising, at least in my eyes, to see her come through as the pick. Virtus.Pro looking to round out their lineup. Still need a damage dealer on their side, unless they want to throw something cheeky at us.
And I don't know if it'll be Street Justice or Cat Burglar.
Yeah, that's been the big difference.
But I think obviously Street Justice is fairly good against Fernando. I think despite her not having a shield to go through, I think it is very good against Inara as well. Because as her health bar starts to drop lower and lower, she pops the Earthen Guard, and that's almost like the emergency break where your damage comes to a grinding halt. She's getting so much more healing. But as long as she's still below that threshold, it doesn't matter if you can't move the health bar one way or another. You can execute the damn character. And now Tyra comes through. Double damage amp for VP. They may be starting to smell the opportunity for Pacheco to carry this game with the double damage amp Eevee.
Well, I think that would be a smart route to go. I mean, you got the guy who's getting 22 kills in a game. Just let it happen. Don't try to stop it in this case, and we'll see if it continues on this pace. Do you think they have a roster here that allows them to win?
It's on Pacheco.
Yeah.
Win the game or don't, or your team is gonna lose. I really feel that way.
That's fair. How about the side of SSG?
SSG, I think
What do you see
they have a good couple of champions to counter this out. I think Leon is a good matchup against Eevee.
Yeah.
And I think Maeve can be in the fact that if you catch her in an ice block, or if maybe you're reading a wormhole blink back and you're sitting there waiting for her and you get the double dagger into the pounce, that's a lot of health for Eevee to lose at one time.
Well, it's time to see how both lineups play out. We're going to a game number 6. Virtus.Pro, they're on set point. SSG, well, they need to bounce back. Let's send it down to Evan and Gore to get it started.
All right, so game 6, set could be closed out. Dave could have been 6 for 6 on perfect throws, not calling me Nick. There's a lot of momentous things about to occur here potentially, but not if Ares on this Cat Burglar Maeve has anything to say about it. They want to tie this one back up. VP in the lead, and we got some suggestions this time. Most of NIP, except for Bird, who thinks VP will be 4-3. They think Spacestation will be 4-2 victors. Send this to a game 7. What do you think?
Honestly, I feel 4-3's coming back. I feel like now that we're back on a standard map, we're going to go 3-3. And then I genuinely think it comes down to how well Fishy is going to perform at that last point. I think everything before that's probably going to be kind of negligible, honestly. I think they're going to go back and forth, although this is definitely looking like a good start for SSG. And if they can get themselves up at 2-0, if I see them 3-0, I think they can close it out early.
Well, SSG doing a good job here, that's for sure. Haven't seen too much of what's been going on with the Maeve, but Richao has been very, very consistent on the Barrack. And the Maeve providing a lot of high ground, a lot of pressure. Pacheco, I mean, yeah, this is a duel that could easily go the way of Ares if he gets a couple of early shots, because there's a lot of damage in just 2 knives, and he's got 2 more. after he throws the first couple. So 1-0 to SSG, starting off strong.
The longer this game goes, the more zoned in he gets, the better those daggers are connecting. And when you hit someone, I mean, if you're looking at Genos, that's already on its own going to be a lot of damage to get rid of this. You look at Tyra, you're going to be able to kill off Hecate pretty regularly. But then again, you look at the Eevee, and it's one of those matchups where that's not going to be an easy thing to hit. That's not an easy connection to make.
Yeah.
But between that plus the Barrack plus the Leon, Fisheko doesn't really have a lot of wiggle room.
And I'm not sure if he's going to get more wiggle room at this point. And, you know, they say 4-2, but the way this has looked thus far is more of the 4-0. I mean, there's been no rhythm yet, really, for VP. And Hecate on this Tyra is going to have to play perfectly because there is no high ground, low ground accessibility from this character. She just doesn't have that type of mobility. She doesn't have any verticality. And so if he commits, he's really going to have to commit to where he wants to be. Let's put it that way. And so far, that has been difficult, to say the least here. A couple of big shots. FRZ God going into the Enlightenment. 1600 damage. That's enough. And it forces Hecate away from the fight, isolates Puleule, and gets a nice trade for SSG.
I mean, a couple of good shots here really makes the difference. This is one of the things that I think is so beautiful about SSG's roster.
Oh,
they
man.
might not quite have the snipers down as we've seen in the last few weeks, but when it comes down to having all these variable flanks, all of these variable hit scan players, it comes out looking really good. Freeze God picks up this Leon so well, and it allows this main flex for Ares. It's just hard to deal with.
I mean, in under 3 minutes of playtime, it's a 2-0. And things are looking extremely good for SSG to be able to continue this set and send it to a Game 7. Let's look at just the Sadak performance in general, Gore. I mean, he's been great on this con.
This is, I would argue, you know, in metas of old, Ruckus was Sadak's best champion. Because of the way things have shifted, Ruckus doesn't quite fit in as much right now unless you're trying to run like what they did earlier, maybe do a triple frontline where he's kind of the bruiser that you bring in.
Right.
His Ares is on par with where his Ruckus was. That's where I would put it, where it's just if you let him have it, it's not a guaranteed win, but it definitely isn't going to help you.
Right. One of the bigger questions here is, where's the Ashe? So valuable in our earlier set. Oh, almost got him. Whew, that was scary. It's like stepping up to the edge of a cliff, almost falling off. Catching your balance right before, but still the adrenaline, it's coursing through your veins. Already getting pressured out. Hecate is almost getting 1v1 by Sadak on the con. That's the value this thing is bringing. But Fishy over on the other side finds an early kill onto Ares. Seismic Crash to try to space it out, and it will do just that.
And this is exactly what you want. Have the double comeback here for Virtus.Pro. You can capture twice as fast overall than you're going to see out of SSG. Nice resets to come through for Rajao, but he's locked down.
Good shots.
He's trying to heal up and walks away. He's actually going to be able to survive this. A nice overpower is locking down the Eevee, and that's going to be a kill to get rid of probably the biggest threat on VP.
And it's just the biggest, I think, access to high ground that they have. Otherwise, I mean, who's going to get there? They don't have someone in Aura. Everyone else has got to walk up, and the Maid is able to kind of do her own thing and be wherever she wants to be, in and out. It's no problem for her. She'll serve up double-doubles all day long at 62%. Now turns into 72% here for Spacestation.
Eevee is back, but you have the Enlightenment ready, so if low health Eevee shows their health, you can see Freeze God potentially get that kill. Puleule,
Big
get
time.
credit right there. There's Hecate. This
Big
is looking
time.
like another one, and they're just locking him down.
And he hits 2 imminent shots that set up for 4 kills. And although Fisheko finds Freeze God at the end of the day, it is all SSG 3-0 in under 5 minutes of play. Boy, oh boy, they are off to the races here.
Boy, oh boy, do they have a lot of work cut out for them for Virtus.Pro right now. High ground, I don't even want to say they have a high ground advantage. They have control at the beginning until you have this Maeve jump up and maybe show up a little more difficult than what you thought. A lot of damage comes out of these daggers right now. And again, when you just don't look at it for a little bit, it stacks up. I mean, it's 400, 520 there otherwise, which means you're going to be ranging from 800 damage as long as you're hitting both to 1040.
I think that's it.
And 1,000, that's still a fifth of an RSL.
One more chance. They literally have one more chance to defend here. Otherwise, this is it. SSG is going to walk this one through. They've already got a really nice snowball. Ares is going to pressure this.
This is good.
He missed that, but Ares is just going to go for Hecate. I'm surprised he backed off. Overpower. It is going to whiff. For the first time in this game, I believe it is going to miss. And that would have been an easy kill on to Dosips to just set this thing up and send it to a Game 7. But somehow Virtus.Pro have stabilized now. But FRZ God is in a very dangerous spot. The payload's still moving. And my, oh my, they gotta help Dosif somehow.
I mean, they're holding on to whatever they can. Dosif
They gotta
is
get
gonna
there.
burned
What are you
down.
doing?
Right there's the kill. Aries gonna clean him up. Hecate gets mid out though, so no support, but they don't even need him.
Oh my goodness gracious. I think they just felt that there was too much to do. Had to kill FRC God and Ares. Had to help Dosips. Vex ends up being the one who has to drop, and that's just a dead Genos if I've ever seen one. Pulioli gets there, but it's too late. And SSG, fastest game, probably one of the fastest games today.
Yeah.
Gonna take a 4-0 and tie this up, send it to a Game 7.
I mean, being able to come through, find not only a 4-0, but then that's your Game 6. Like, this set started with 4-4-3s. Like, you're going back and forth like that. And now 4-1, 4-0, we're going into this final map, which I kind of expect to be a little bit more contested, but Virtus.Pro get the pick. I think this is probably one of the better sets. I mean, obviously of today, it's the longest set, but it's looking good.
Let's see what happens. Game 7 on the way.
As if we could not have written it up any better. We're headed to a Game 7 now. They said it best. The good recap there in the desk. 4 threes, bouncing back and forth, and then a 4-1, now a 4-0. These games are getting faster as we go along here. We're down to a Game 7. Sort of the thing to key in on is that now Virtus.Pro have the last map pick, but we kind of talked about that. As you get down to these last few maps, you're not necessarily, I mean, maybe there's a pocket pick coming through. What are some stats that maybe jump out to you here?
Big damage there for Sadok, 8-0. Rishao, 7-0. Loves the barrack on Serpent Beach. They dominated, man. They just kind of ran away with it. As you can kind of see, a lot of this, I think, was we were talking about riding on Pacheco. He's only 4-7, 0-8, 0-3, 0-6. The rest of the team just got ran over too quickly, too fast. Didn't have enough time for Fish to really do much.
Yeah, some of the frontliners on the side of Virtus.Pro having a pretty tough game as well. A lot of that is thanks to this guy here, FRZ God. 4.8 KDA here on the Leon. We talk about his blasters. We talk about his whole champion pool. His Leon, well, it's just as clean as all the rest.
He's not even getting, he's taking no damage.
He's just kind of hanging back.
Free firing for a clip and a half, 2 clips.
Well,
and nobody cares.
I mean, we care because we're showing him, but nobody on the enemy team seems to care because, well, he tore through him in that last game and didn't quite have an answer for it. So the team composition on the Virtus.Pro side not playing out maybe the way that they were looking. I mean, you get down to it, you get down to a Game 7. I don't quite remember all the maps that we have available
playing
still.
Off the 4-0. Right. That's a lot of momentum.
The momentum,
for SSG to be coming into this one with. And a little bit of why I think sets can play out this way is like if the maps that SSG feels good on are also coincidentally the maps that Virtus.Pro feel good on, then yeah, it's going to be a war early on because everybody kind of knows what they're doing. They know their strats. They feel good on those maps. And then as you get later in these sets where you get these maybe more, I'm not going to say Serpent Beach is a pocket pick that nobody should know how to play, but you get those more spiky performances. The draft looking very comfortable. We saw the Mave band out on Fish Market. Maybe getting a little bit of that. Well, I don't know that Ares has done it, but Serpent Beach is definitely like the Mave map right now. Maybe a little bit of Frozen Guard, maybe a little bit of Fish Market, but Serpent Beach is, if you're going to see her, that's where I'd put my chips on.
Well, we'll have to see which maps come through here. I mean, when you really are getting down to these last handful of maps, I mean, you imagine most of these teams know how to play on all of these maps, but it's maybe some of the interesting picks that they've prepared on some of these later maps, or everyone knows how to play on Serpent Beach or Jag Falls, but Timber Mill. Does everyone know how to play on Timber Mill, Nick?
No. Definitely not. Timber Mill is a very unique map, similar to Fish Market. They're two, like I just explained that whole thing about how they used to be together. They got stitched apart, cut up, Abomination, Frankenstein, whatever word you want to use for it. These are the Franken maps, so to speak. They're very, very old. Haven't been looked at. Small little things have been adjusted over time. Like if you're looking across the way over the top of the point, there's these like wooden fences that are there now, and you have like this little pocket, this little window, if you will, that snipers can look up. That used to be all just wide open, and there was no cover. There was a couple boxes on there, and that was pretty much it. But Timber Mill is a very easy map to snowball if you know what you're doing, right? This is one of the maps where the spawn doors is far away and even level, so they're not above. You have no high ground coming out of your spawn. If anything, you have to drop and push up a tiny little ramp into a place where the offense actually has high ground. They have cover. They have map advantage on you. So it's one of those things where the point fight, or where you make your last stand, has to be pretty far forward away from your spawn. So defender's advantage isn't really as much of a thing on Timbermill as it is on other maps.
And you kind of called out the Eevee. We actually called out the Ashe. We hadn't seen a lot of Ashe in this set, if
no
any.
snipers.
I'm trying to think back.
Ghost feather reporting.
But we are going to get the Ashe here, as well as the Strix. So sniper priority on this map, right up there with a map like Frog Isle. But we see Ashe coming through here for Space Station.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of that pick. We've seen how much, honestly, of a game an aggressive Ashe can control. We saw Diggy Dog playing her earlier today and really controlled the maps that he was playing Ashe on, and it shows how impactful she can be.
Ashe can be great on Timbermill, clearing these big line of sight gaps, having an ultimate just to stand damage immunity out in the wide open if you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
But her auto attacks as well. Ashe has that slug shot talent where if you want to go into pressuring out this Strix, you can do that from a very long way away. It's Sadak. It's a guy that it was on Splitstone that he first brought out slug shot and kind of coined that this season as his thing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it again here to pressure out Akate. He teamed with Akate's snipers before. He knows what they can do. He knows how dangerous and lethal they are. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the respect given and see extra pressure put on.
Right. I mean, we'll get to look at the Virtus.Pro side of things. Strix still need a frontliner, still need a damage dealer as well. I mean, if you're painting with a broad brush here, you paint a wide stroke, what type of champion maybe rounds out the Space Station lineup for you?
I think you need something for Ares, and whether it's an Amani or whether it's a Leon, something in that. He's not the biggest fan of snipers either.
Go ahead.
Cassie
Keep
gets
talking
picked up,
while
so
you
again,
can.
it's sort of doubling down on those two characters. What's left in the pool for Ares? He has played that awkward third frontliner ruckus sort of, con spot today.
Right.
But I'm leaning towards the Amani or the Leon.
To see which direction they choose to go. They are going to actually end up giving him the Kinessa, so we're going to get a little bit of a sniper battle on this map, despite being a map that teams prefer to play snipers on. Oftentimes it's sort of one team or the other. What are some matchups to watch here for you? What are some win conditions you see on either side?
Well, you got to go scope for scope here. I mean, this is one of the pure sniper battle.
Yeah.
And there's almost a map where there's almost no map where it's more pure than Timber Mill, because Frog Isle, flankers easily get to you. Tanks can be pushing up your stairs. On Timber Mill, there's really not a whole lot that gets in the way of you and that other sniper. You're above everything by a whole story. There's no sort of like line of sight breaks in between. It's a lot of fun to watch it, and a lot of times it comes down to like predictive little shots. Like if you can read, like you hit that Strix, he goes behind the corner, you hear the stealth, and you just sort of like, now.
Right.
And you got to kind of guess maybe he's peeking now, shoulder peeking, whatever it is in stealth. But you got to be able to kind of get those reads if you want to get the jump in the sniper matchup.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to see how this plays out. We're headed to a Game 7. One of these two teams is going to walk away with the win here today. Let's send it down to the casters to find out who.
Timber Mill, it's a rare treat to see, but Game 7, of course, it's a rare treat as well, so why not pair the two perfectly? SSG and Virtus.Pro, both former teammates, first time meeting up this season, and two snipers, both on either side.
So here's the question.
3.
Is it a sniper battle if it's a slaughter?
The battle has
I think
begun.
aim for aim, Hecate takes Ares out every single step of the way. I think the thing that Ares has going for them is going to be the talents Kinessa has to kind of help him with his damage, and the Eevee. But I think when it comes down to it, this is going to be maybe the proving grounds. Maybe Ares can prove me wrong, but
Well,
I have yet to be impressed by his Kinessa.
you're right, and he's got the first hit, though, and Hekate's still firing.
Blood.
And Pulili's going to find Sadak, so good things for Virtus.Pro. Ares here, really more of a role for the sniper, allowing FRZ God also to apply pressure, get those final hits on the Eevee. And, when you consider it that way, maybe not as much to do as Hecate does, which they're really hoping that he needs to find those big hits. Maybe some poke from Cassie, and Sheko can help that out as well. As he gets one big one, forces the transport, and still 72% counting for Virtus.Pro.
And the big thing is he's constantly keeping this Kinessa under
Got
a
him.
nice angle, and he threads the needle to be able to hit that one pixel, essentially, of Kinessa that was poking out. Her elbow came out too far, and now that's opened up this entire world for Virtus.Pro.
And he's found 2 kills like we were talking about, and he
Yo, what's up,
smells
man?
Hecate coming up through the portal, and now he's going to try to basically scope from this close. However, it's all Virtus.Pro who are happy to have this time bought by SSG because Sadak still goes down and Akate still stays alive in the process.
Overall, being able to grab that, push themselves forward. I liked the tech. You could see Spacestation Gaming using the Ash dash that we had mentioned earlier, kind of jumping down, using the dash to floor yourself on the ground and get back to the point. Unfortunately, again, it's just, I want to say sniper battle overall is one-sided towards Hekate because, let's admit it, the guy has a sniper tattoo on his arm. He is known for this, the specialist as you called him. And he's got a Strix Luminary boost, not a Strix Luminary boost, how about a Jinno's Luminary boost on the Strix. And then, so far, I think the win condition on the side of SSG is get Freeze God to come around and just get rid of Hekate. So far, I have yet to see him except on the receiving end of a lot of shots.
I mean, great management of Sadak's situation there with the kind of min-maxing of staying kind of headshot range because he's hovering in between the shield while also doing some damage on his own. But Hekate and those 1980 headshots with the Luminary boost, that is something very, very dangerous. Mitao tries to hit the stun. He's going to get rid of the turret and just gourd himself up. Just hold this area. And it's going to result in at least a little bit of a stolid defense at the moment. A nice little shoulder bash. And there's the big game bonus. Lasts for 6 seconds, and that's about 3,500 damage from Pacheco to Sadak. No extra postage on that one.
1145 is a dangerously large number, I would say, here if you're Spacestation Gaming. Not a comfortable position to be in, the receiving end of that. And, I mean, between that and the 1,200 damage shot you're going to take from Strix, there really is no safe ground.
No.
Everyone probably 2 to 3. For the front lines, I'd even alleviate and say 4 shots from these two combined to be able to shut you down, let alone if one of them hits a headshot coming through right here. And I'm expecting that to be the case with
Yeah, there's just so much value here. And maybe they bite off more than they can chew. I don't think this is something that Mitao's going to want to push. He's been so successful today, but it feels like SSG are crumbling here after such a dominating performance. Timbermill has not gone that way. Virtus.Pro 2-0, and they are 2 points away from taking this first encounter between these two teams.
Not exactly the way you think Timbermill's going to go.
Yeah.
When you come into Timbermill, I
1-1.
do not, and I think, you know, really long overtime pushes as well. Like, even if you get a 2-0, you've spent, 3 minutes on a 2.5 minute push.
Right?
And that's the thing is 2-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. Like, everyone on Virtus.Pro dying, once overall. They're able to get the credits from the point plus all the kills they got. You have a master riding for Hekate, which is actually very important. If Josephs gets to the point a little faster, Hekate gets a shot onto Ares before Ares even is able to get into his scope because of this.
And what happened was it wasn't even onto Ares, although that's who he's aiming for. It was onto Rachao, and Rachao actually took a little bit more damage than he wanted. And he actually tries to go for the sniper this time around, and doesn't take the easy bait of the huge Tagala in front of him. You can see Ares trying to peek there. Notably, not a lot of any of the flare use at all. 80-41, and he's got to go away. But yeah, no flare usage at all from Hekate, but Vex finds him with the through time and space.
I mean, you've got to lock him down. He's hiding somewhere, and he has to hide from Hekate. You poke your head, you're going to take 1841 was the number you throw out, and that's just going to be a little bit of a boost. If you go the other direction, well, Vex can just track you down with the through time and space. And now Fishy getting really aggressive. A low health Cassie in the front line, going to end up paying for it right here. Zuby gets aggressive. That's still 63-31.
Very good Dread Serpent, though, and it feels like, yes, Virtus.Pro are in control, but just like that, Rachao finds Josephs. And you can't count your chickens before they hatch, although Hekate does find a nice little shot from range. FRZ God is able to pick up Pule Ule, and so Virtus.Pro having to be a little more cautious and dive the point if they want to keep this going.
And that's that shot you see, a couple of shots from Ares that just hit the box. And it was very much the, well, if Hekate's in stealth, I'm going to try to find him, lock him down. Unfortunately, it was those shots, the control that Spacestation Gaming brought. And the fact that Hekate wasn't able to just put damage onto the point, much like we just saw Ares do before that into Pule Ule, that there's no threat to the front lines. Both Inara and Ash can just sit there, stand there, do whatever they need. They're fighting their own little battle, but without having 1,200, 1,800 shots come down from the roofs, it becomes a lot more of a stable battle.
Absolutely, and Ares finally gets himself on the board there in this duel, takes out Hekate. That's going to open up some space. And now SSG will be able to maybe move a little bit farther, but not without mid-tow. Pulioli takes down Aries, and Pacheco cleans up the support. So a minute and 40 now. And Virtus.Pro not really giving up much room. In fact, defending in the base, essentially, of SSG. So this push has not been able to go literally anywhere. This is a defense.
Yeah, that's the hard reminder. I mean, you are being boxed into your own base. This might look very similar to what Virtus.Pro just did last round on their push, because, well, they're holding it the exact same way they held their push, except maybe a little, well, I was going to say a little more lax, but I don't even know if I can give them that. They're pretty much doing the exact same amount of effort into locking SSG down. I mean, if Eevee can slip by, we could see maybe the longest backdoor in history, but I really sincerely doubt it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one as well. It seems like they've got a lot of eyes on this situation. I don't know about you, Gord, but it looks like they've got this area covered. And so far, this is not so good for Virtus.Pro. And actually, a little juked out as Hecate. Oh! With the hip fire, almost grabs him. But it will be at least a moment of Spacestation Gaming to start what is a very long push. Only 30 seconds left now to go the entire map.
Yeah, it only took 2 minutes to get there, but they won the fight they needed to. Now they're back on the payload. And even then, I tentatively say they're back on the payload. It kind of still feels like Pacheco and the crew are keeping them at bay. There's going to be another kill. And, well, I mean, I can't, again, there's nothing worse in the game, I would say, than being a frontline. Especially in Inara, where you're like, there's no damage I'm going to be able to do to you. There's 4 people looking at me. I'm standing on the payload. Like, there's literally nothing I can do in this scenario that wins my team a game, except I just die.
Well, you know, it's a tough spot, and yeah, Inara would not be fun. SSG in some trouble here, and what they really need is they need FRZ guy to go bananas. He needs to go bonkers, and he absolutely has to get 2-3 kills in this fight. He has to zone well, and he has to stay alive. And if they don't do that, this game very much could be over in the form of Virtus.Pro taking their first win here. Hecate needs to be shut down, and that's just his. That's all you got to say.
Shut him down, lock him up. 10, 3, and 8, 13, 3, and 10. Looking a little more impressive on the Cassie. And I feel like early on in that fight, he pushed a little harder than I think need be, and then there was a Dread Serpent that sent him back. I expect this time around we're going to see maybe a couple shots from the Strix come out on more prioritized targets, but also Cassie not bite off more than she can shoot.
Oh, Sadok's going in, so Sadok's going to push him off. That's what you're going to see here. Yeah, she's trying to go basically just aggress onto that as soon as possible. And it's going to find something. Pulioli here doing a good job with the Hexafire, cancels it out early, but the problem is Sadok went on that roundabout journey, but at the same time, they've lost 2 members. It is up to FRZ God to turn this around, but Pacheco's going to take him out with a big game combo.
And just almost instantly deleted. Like 100 to 0, it was 2 shots, and that's all you need to be able to get rid of 1,800 simple health from an Eevee. And I want to say this was an explosive set at the beginning, but these last 2 games are very lopsided. This is looking like it might be Virtus.Pro, but it's not over yet. They're going to be standing on it. There's going to be Seismic Crash trying to do whatever they can to stall out Pulioli and get some kills rolling for SSG.
And Sadok found Vex, and he's in his ult. This is big. Pulioli could go down here, and Sadok with a double kill. Can he find the triple? He's the one who needs it. Richao. It's all the tanks from SSG coming up big. I think they're going to get this point. In fact, they certainly will.
And that's the moment they needed, right? That's the everything comes down to clutch. Can you get the kill? I think if Pacheco stays alive a little longer there, you probably see him cleaned up by Freeze God, but you might not. That's the thing, is like there becomes bigger threats on the table. And now SSG, if they push this in, if they can find the start that they've already found, right? It's already better than what we saw last round. They could turn this 3-3.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. The condition is going to be these early fights. Hekate's just off to the races, and it is part of that master riding, and it's just part of his pacing and awareness of this fight. Feels like he's just done this a little bit longer. That veteranship showing up from him. And, you know, they need to be addressing these issues very, very diligently on the side of Spacestation Gaming. And FRZ God has to get to his spot and at least make a contribution with his basics rather than having to traverse the entire map, because that's what Pacheco's doing. He's adding meaningful blast shot, big game, disengage, style damage from safe spots, and that's his work.
And I will throw out, this is probably an unfortunate scenario depending on how this kill goes. But based on what I've been saying about Aries,
Well done, Aries.
I was not impressed with his Kinessa coming into this game. This has turned that around. It's just like, this is much more sniper-oriented map, but between the boxing matches of him and Hecate, like, he's hitting these shots. He's hitting what he needs to, and he's making a huge difference on these point fights, and admittedly the defense and push. So the fact that he's gone from something where I was like, I don't even know if he can run it, to the fact that now it's, I mean, I'm not going to put him up there with Rock Monkey and Hecate yet.
Sure.
But the fact that he's able to hold his own is such a vast improvement in just, what, 2 weeks, I believe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, Aries is a player who, if anything, is not faint of heart and is not faint of effort. And even if he lacks some of that natural aiming ability that you see with players, and it's not someone lacking, it's maybe that someone's been maybe gifted a little bit more, or maybe had that background to be able to do this easier. Aries is hung in there again and again and again. But yeah, getting a little bit isolated here in these matchups against Hecate. They've got to work as a unit. It's not the 1v1 they need. They need FRZ guy doing stuff like this and snowballing the fight.
This is good kills so far, setting things up, getting rid of Hecate. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean as much on this map, mainly because where they're rounding the corner, or at least where they're attempting to round the corner, is going to open up to another nice long line of sight for the sniper. And it's looking like this might stay 3-2. Overtime's going to start up. Virtus.Pro loses quite a few people at the very end, but now it comes down to, well, same thing as the point fight. Can we get rid of the sniper before he gets ready to use?
Good damage. They know where Hecate is. Sadak cause a little bit of trouble here. Yeah, maybe a ruckus. Gets a little healing from the gourd, and oh wow, good damage. And they've turned this around, haven't they? And they're gonna knock him down. Oh my goodness gracious, he is down. And he's just gonna chase it. He doesn't know exactly where he is because he's stealthed up, but Vex could be in trouble here. And he throws the shield up in anticipation of it. Vex finds the final kill. And boy, oh boy, that was scary. That was a little bit too close for comfort for Virtus.Pro. They almost let that one go.
Coming into it 3-2. This is just such a dangerous scenario to be in. I mean, Spacestation Gaming, twice now, their backs have been up against the wall. They were able to hold on. But the question is, how consistently can you keep that up, right? Stress is the name of the game when you are down 3-2, 3-1.
Yeah.
And the minute an overtime timer comes up, stress doubles on a scenario like this, right? If this goes 99-99, and expect maybe even SSG to just throw some bodies at the point. It might not be for the better, but it will decide the set.
Yeah.
3, 2.
That's the big key. You know, it will decide the set. And it's 3-2, so almost only 1 point separating these teams. It's possible that it could be 2 now. Pulili on the ruck is going to get dismounted and go straight to the left. That burst mobility, getting him into contest range with Sadak, who's already half health. And now these missiles causing a bigger problem. She goes up, but she does not come down. Hexafire cleans up Ash through time and space, though. Vex, big kill on the Aries, but Aries before that did slay Hecate.
I mean, a couple of shots here might be able to find a little more, but all the pressure from SSG has been alleviated. It has been pushed away. They took some Tylenol. They were ready for it. They were just like, you know what? This is not going to be a headache for me today. 3-2. Fisheko's still alive. Hecate should be back and in the fight. There's going to be a flare for some vision. And I know we've been switching off of him. I feel like that's the first flare
I've seen. That's the first flare I've seen for sure. Sadak is in trouble. He needs to land, and he does. And oh man, he's so low. Look at that. He needs some healing. I don't think Vital can get anything. Maybe a gourd from downtown. I don't think there's anything. He's going to go down here. It is a rough spot for him. And what can they do off of that? Dosips finds a double, but FRZ God finds one into Fisheko. Where is he? They know they got to get rid of him. He's going to get a little bit of healing back. He goes for the Ice Storm, and Vex is fighting fire with a little bit of fire there. Has the gun ready to go, and 16 streak for him. Somebody's got to step on the point, otherwise Virtus.Pro, they're going to win.
Fisheko goes for it, but Vex is just holding down the angle. They get the burst they need. They burn him down. Sadak's back, but he's fighting a one-man war right now on the point. It's a war of attrition for SSG, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to survive.
Certainly doesn't. Hats off to Midtown for the way he's been healing. Hats off to SSG for the fight they have put up, but it seems like it will be Virtus.Pro who will take the day. The headsets come off, and the celebrations can commence. They win the first meeting between these two.
And a lot of that comes down to, actually, I love the way Vex was playing for that entire Lice Point fight. Not only getting a very good ult, but there were several moments where Eevee blinks. Most people trace the Eevee, maybe try to find the shot. And of course, a lot of these top teams, NIP does this as well. One person just looks where she was.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to shoot here, and if you come back, you're going to get hit. And that's all you have to deal with, and that's exactly what they were doing to lock it down. But I mean, that looked good. The sniper play, I finally got to see it. I've been waiting like all split to see Hecate on Strix or Kinessa, and I finally got one.
And you know what? I realized I have my mic on the wrong side, so
I didn't even notice it.
messed up.
Didn't have to. If you didn't point it out, no one would have known.
Game 7,
Well,
and I messed up.
Game 7, you messed up. Game 7, maybe SSG messed up.
That was my moment. All right, let's send it back to the desk, see if Nick and Dave can at least finish theirs.
I'm sure we can. We'll do our best
In
up
solidarity of Evan.
here. Yeah, give it the old flipperoo. There you go. Flip sides, flip everything. I'm not gonna do it because I would not be as graceful. I don't get like the hair the hair brush when I would do it. It would
It
just
feels bad. I'm like, my head,
right.
my
It
balance
feels like
is
you're
off.
feels like you're tilting the wrong way.
That's what you do when you're part of a team, right?
That's right.
You make
lift each
yourself
other up.
uncomfortable.
That's right. You lift each other up. Lifting.
And you know what Evan did do right?
What did you do right?
Pick VP to win this set.
That's true.
He's the only one.
That's true. I mean, we got a little of everything. We got 4-0, 4-1, 4-2, a whole bunch of 4-3s. Unfortunately, they can't tie. Otherwise, we would probably still be here playing map number 1 and 2 and 3 because, I mean, if you were to ignore the last half of this set, the first half was about as on a knife edge as you could get. And then if you take the last half as a whole, you have one team with the 4-1, the next team with the 4-0, then another 4-0. I mean, it really, truly was as back and forth as you can get. Look at that, 21-7 for Fishy on
It's
the
just that
Cassie.
simple, man. I think Hecate won the sniper fight. Plain and simple. He really does a good job, I think, of keeping Ares under pressure, which
stats
allows
agree.
Fasheko to sort of run around. Fasheko's running big game. He's looking to deal with these frontliners. He keeps the frontliners off of Hecate. Hecate does the rest. There's some seriously large damage numbers pumping out of Cassie and of Strix. They just couldn't find a way to shut these two down. Hecate's so damn good at it. It's the only time we got to watch him play his favorite class of champion in this set, but it was worth the wait.
Doink. I swear, a few of these, there literally is no line of sight, like maybe just a shoulder poking out, and he finds a way to tee off on it. 147,000 damage in sort of a mid-length game. You know, you got to give him props there. He had a 3.7 KDA as well. Finally getting to dip his toes into the sniper pond. His team will be thankful for it because he looked great on it. I mean, you have to give nods to Spacestation as well. They looked good today. Virtus.Pro, they're the ones who won the last game, and I figured it would come down to that. I said, whoever wins last is going to win this set, and that is exactly what happens.
The one adjustment, I would have liked to see Ares, if possible, on like a mid-range character.
Sure.
I don't think he goes to the sniper enough to really contest Hecate effectively.
Right.
I think playing like a Leon there would have been maybe a better look for him. Allow him to box with Fasheko. It's very easy, especially with your ultimate up, to win almost any 1v1 with Leon.
Right. And I think this is an important win for Virtus.Pro. Of course, you beat Spacestation, one of the better teams in our league, but you bounce back after a tough loss.
Yeah, they were
against
3-3
Kanga,
too.
and then you come out and look the way you do against Spacestation. That's really important. We have an interview with the big winner standing by, so let's send it down to them to hear their thoughts.
Well, hey guys, congratulations on your win. And you know, you were talking about, man, I can't even remember, like with 7-game sets, like what happened, map 1, map 2. Luckily, I'm just going to jump back 1. It's a 4-0 on Serpent Beach. It's SSG look incredibly strong on that. And you get to go to Timber Mill. Like, what are the team's thoughts going into map 7? Everyone knows now.
Timber was didn't have any success with it, and you know, a lot of teams don't practice it too much. So, game 7, we feel comfortable with it. You know, we bring it to that map.
So, talking with NIP a little bit, because they stayed a little late and talked about the set, they were able to see a lot of things going on. One question they had was, where was the Ashe in a lot of these sets? Is it something that you guys don't prioritize as much? Is it more of a champion pool thing, or is it more of how you actually feel about the character?
I mean, I can answer that. I mean, it just depends what you have in front, if it is worthy or not, mostly for the ultimate, right? Because since every team is prioritizing EV or one flanker or high mobility, like you don't have that much success with your ultimate with Ashe, and I think Ashe is all about the ultimate and that powerful engage. So most of the time you're looking for a Khan, for a Atlas, an Inara, Barik. I think that's the reason why you are not seeing that much Ashes right now.
You know, Hecate, there was actually several interesting moments because between you and Fisheko, you both play Amani, and there were certain games early on where you were playing her, certain games towards the end where you kind of switched up and put him on her. What exactly, like when you're going into the draft, determines who's going to be picking that one up?
Mostly depending like what is the plan on that map, right? Like what are we going to do? And since Fisheko and I, we're increasing our flexibility on the champions, like we both can play Mani, and if somebody can play the Tyra, or he can play the Eevee or the Pip, or I can play the snipers, you know, we're always going to flex on the champions.
Just last quick thought, what is your immediate takeaway that you'll be using for this set, whether it was things you need to work on, things we did well, and what we'll carry forward into tomorrow?
We'll definitely rewatch the sets. We made a bunch of mistakes, and the Serpent was awful. So,
True.
You know, we'll go back, figure out what we have to do. We have Knights tomorrow. They beat us in the first week. I think we're a different team than we were then, but I think they're a different team too. So I think it's going to be a really interesting set. It's going to be close.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to be able to throw back to the desk here and wrap it up. Congratulations, guys, on your victory, and look forward to seeing you both play tomorrow.
Thank you, guys. Big, wise words from the big victors on the day. Always humble in victory as you are in defeat, and they looked really good today. I think that's an important win, especially this week. I mean, this is a tough 3 or 4 teams really that are playing this week. So being able to steal one away, especially when you have some tough matchups coming over the next couple of days, are really big. Here are your updated standings after this fine Thursday of PPL action. NIP retain their top spot, not as if that were in jeopardy, but they retain the undefeated, which is what's important. SSG dropped to 3-2. Virtus.Pro rise up to 4-3. Yeah, and I mean, we always talk about it. The standings are truly just so close at this point. Any team who wins or loses against one team that's next to them, things are going to get shifted up a lot, I think.
I haven't done the math, but I think NIP are damn near qualified for the MSI at this point. I mean, I think they only have 6 games left.
That's true.
And they would still have a winning record if they literally just didn't show up for every game they have left to play.
Map differential would likely be in their favor as well. Looking at the schedule for tomorrow, you have a bit of a flip in opponents here. NIP is going to be taking on SSG off a 4-3 loss. Pittsburgh Knights going up against the Virtus.Pro. So the winners going against the losers and vice versa going into tomorrow. What matchup do you have your eyes on?
Honestly, kind of both, but
Sure.
if I had to pick one, I really kind of want to see SSG NIP because they did just play, and I want to see the way that SSG has been able to evolve in a week. It's not been a long time, really. There's nothing really that's been changed. They've had nothing but time to sort of figure out what went wrong and tune it up for this week. But VP and the Knights, they just have a lot of history, I think, in that matchup between Cuss and Doseps. That's always a fun one to kind of talk about and take a deeper dive on.
Sure.
And that should be a damn good matchup. I think the Knights can realistically maybe beat VP.
Always a lot of things to be keeping your eyes on. It was a fun day of PPL here on this Thursday. Lots of statements were made, but that is going to do it. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Same time, same place, 1 p.m. Eastern time for some more great Paladins action. We'll see you then.
Brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Res Studios, Evil Mojo, INAP, SteelSeries, Respawn.